Warrior Lore. Chapter 1090, Malice. Chapter 1090, Malice. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? A huge bird of hundreds of meters was perched on a cliff in Allbeast Mountain Range, black as night and eyes like ice. On its head was a mote of azure flickering about, the chaos flame. Such a beast was being deferential. A tall man stood before it, taking his finger out of the azure flame, none other than vaulting Kuanping cough. The huge bird coughed twice, then tested its human speech. Its eyes shone with joy, its face smiling as it bowed before the man. Thank you, master, for imparting me your wisdom. I shall never forget such kindness. I'm only doing this because I have a certain need for you. Kuanping sighed. Midnight War Owl, you're a 9th level imperial beast like 3 heads, and I've been considering you along with it when I chose my aid. Now you shall represent me when leading the beasts. Shivering, Midnight War Owl looked baffled. Master, Brother 3 Heads said he'll be back soon. When it sees me, it... Haha, what a good friend you are. Kuanping shook his head. It won't be joining us, I fear. That's why I had you take his place. Then brother, the azure flame I give you is my seal. I know its condition better than anyone. That old CAO spared no pretense, even taking down my aid. Then again, Old Dragon should feel the same thing about me. Haha. Kuanping paced around, turning to watch the clear moon hanging high in the sky. The thought of someone from the mortal domain making away with 3 heads never crossed his mind, not since it was a 9th level imperial beast he raised, pinning all the blame on CAO War Owl. CAO used to be the simplest and closest to humans among us 5 sacred beasts. But with deeper ties, the cut is deep once broken. He gave his sincerity and was rewarded with betrayal. Now his heart is filled with hatred, a malice he can't ever let go of. Zhuofan stands no chance in talking any sense to a vindictive lunatic. Haha, my own envoy got killed even. Now they only have themselves to rely on. Kuanping's eyes had a strange glimmer as he watched the Moon War Owl sighed at the demise of his brother. It turned to the moon as well, its gaze laden with the pain of loss and just a glimmer of hope. 3 heads died in this mission. I only hope it is completed, so its death won't be in vain. It prayed for Zhuofan to pull through the bright moon glow past every corner of Allbeast Mountain, as well as the chaotic war near the North Sea. It sent the prayer deep into the black fog and onto a pensive man. Should I trust him or not? Zhuofan was thinking hard on his decision. Looking from the exit of CAO's domain to Chower's hopeful eyes, it might very well be his hardest decision, yet, facing a totally unfamiliar and untrustworthy opponent, he had no leverage to lean on, no control. Any choice had a real chance of ruining everything. By distrusting CAO, he and Chower would only avoid the problem, with a high chance of breaking it off with CAO here and now, never to meet again and leaving young Sanzi helpless. But by giving young Sanzi to him, CAO might take its fury and malice on young Sanzi. Zhuofan had heard it loud and clear. The true feeling CAO's earlier speech contained. Zhuofan was at an impasse, unable to see any viable option. Kid, I see you're hesitating, so I won't force you. You can go. Father, CAO urged, and Chower was being impatient. Whoosh. Zhuofan's eyes shot open just then, and young Sanzi's unconscious form appeared in this world of ice. He wore a gentle smile, free of pain and suffering. Senior CAO, he is Qilin's son. I ask Senior to lend aid in saving his life. I will be eternally grateful. Qilin? How did his son become yours? CAO's voice echoed from all directions, and surprised Zhuofan cupped his hands. He is my godson, and we depend on each other. Humph, godson? Heaven sealing, CAO mocked. You even took him in. I can overlook taking the girl with the Thunder Phoenix's legacy, but now you have a true Qilin as godson? Planning on rearing them, so you can one day rule the world? Hee hee, you sure know how to curry favor, taking them under your wing at their worst for you to use great sacred beasts when you need it most. You're the most deceitful human I've ever seen. Zhuofan did not refute, nodding, yes, those were my thoughts as well. Were. Don't tell me they're gone now. They are my son and daughter, nothing more. Lies. CAO howled. There's no wretched being out there as humans. They'll even turn on their flesh and blood, let alone others. You took them in so you can use them. Zhuofan chuckled and shook his head. I won't deny it. I had that idea. As a family, children ought to obey their parents. No? By not letting them come to danger and being close to one another. Our bond as father and son remains close and also virtuous. I don't hurt them but give them my love and care. Completely worth it. Bullshit. You're just using them. The air shimmered and rumbling of avalanches were heard. Cao was mad. Cunning human, you have nothing but excuses. Using such cheap love on sacred beasts like us is utterly vile. Chower was about to argue when Zhuofan shook his head to stop her. Zhuofan went on, casually, Senior Cao has been around since antiquity but still can't see that the world is always in balance. Even when it comes to love, I gave them a family, a father. It's only natural to give their lives in exchange. Now's no different. Save the Qilin and I am yours to send on any task Senior Cao wishes without so much as a complaint. Sir is now stuck in this place, like a prisoner. But worry not, I have the solution. It won't be long before the mortal domain will be broken and get you free. Seniors Kuanpeng and Dragon Ancestor are behind me all the way as well. You may distrust me, but what about them? Rotten human, always looking to bargain. Those old fools must be blind to put their trust in a bastard like you. I won't make that mistake. I never trusted a human again, not since I have been imprisoned here following the roar. A deep cold shot for Zhuofan's head. Shower shot to defend him, but something slammed into her and was flung a mile away. Biting and icy winds whistled past Zhuofan. Shower flipped 4 times before she could stop, looking stunned at the sight. Zhuofan was encased in ice, frozen and dead. There was no sign of life coming from him. He was stuck with his arm out, like all those stiff bodies trapped in the ice below them. Father. Shower muttered, then wailed at the top of her lungs, Father. Zhuofan was deaf in the block of ice, his eyes blank, his face flat. Hi. Cao cackled from all around. It's no use, little Thunder Phoenix. When I seal a human, even their souls are trapped. He's no different from a corpse, unable to see or hear. With time, his life will ebb, turning into another one of my samples. Hi. Damn it. Heaven sealing Cao. Give my father back now. Shower shook from pain, her heart torn. Rage took her then as she roared at the air. Harm him in any way and I vow to take your life. Hi. How spunky. Cao patronized. Little Thunder Phoenix, I can squash you as easy as a bug the way you are now. But even in your prime, no sacred beast can beat another anyway. Ha. Why you? However, Cao switched tunes when she began. You have a choice. Didn't you come to save the young Qilin? You now get to decide who lives and dies, the human or the Qilin. Hi. Chapter 1091. Choice. Chapter 1091. Choice. Proofreader. Papatonks. What? Shower shuddered, looking between Zhuofan's frozen figure in ice and young Sanzi on the snow, barely breathing. What's there to think about, little Thunder Phoenix? Cao's bewitched. You said it yourself. There are only 5 great sacred beasts, that we're a family. The Qilin will die along with this young Qilin. While this filthy human has been using you. It's obvious then. You only have to nod and I will make mince meat out of his corpse. Then the Qilin can be saved. Ha. Shower gave a stiff shake, her eyes turning red as she choked. No, he's my father. I don't want him to die. I take it you'll be saving the human over the Qilin? Cao's snicker once again echoed, having a blast in her torment and weaving deceit. Then take the human while I'll have young Qilin for dinner. How could you? You're a sacred beast too. How can you harm brother? And you aren't? Why then do you choose a human over him? Shower was stuck, unable to reply as she looked between her father and brother with pain and sorrow. Whoosh. For figures then flashed in her eyes, led by the best in mortal domain. The invincible sword looking at the prevalent white and the boundless ice. Bailey Yuyun was baffled. That's strange. We've been running around the mist forever. Where did we end up this time? Why is there a world in the black mist? Patriarch, do you know anything about this place? It feels familiar. I seem to have heard about it once. Bailey Yutian frowned, looking just as puzzled at the ice and snow, But then he noticed someone he shot straight for Chower with Sword Kings in tow. Lass, why are you alone? Where's Serjua? Chower's lip quivered, pointing with bleary eyes and a frail voice. There. The four flinched as they saw Jua Fan encased in ice. What on earth? What happened to Serjua? And they then looked down and noticed the sea ice below them holding scores of bodies. Bailey Yuyun turned to Chower in panic. Girl, you wanted to come here, right? Then you must know where we are. D-Dad called it Ice Mountain. Chower strained to speak through her pain. It's what everyone is calling it. One of the 3 danger zones. Ice Mountain? SSS. Bailey Yuyun gasped. His heart stuck in his throat as the news scared the life out of him. Anyone knew that no one came out of the 3 danger zones alive. And now they ran into one. The 3 Sword Kings were now tearing up as well, lamenting their fate. That was why the brash and cocky lass turned so meek and distraught. Anyone would cry in this heaven-forsaken place. The invincible sword found his predicament amusing though. Ha ha ha. I've been roaming around for thousands of years and yet never stumbled upon any danger zone. Only now ran into it. Though what makes this place so bad to be called a danger zone? Lass, what's so dangerous about it? Bailey Yuyun got the hint and turned to ask Chower. In such a bad place, being in the dark as to what might attack them was the biggest danger. Chower sniffed, pointing at Jua Fan. In other words, that's the danger. So watch it. Bailey Yuyun bobbed his head and asked, how did Serjua turn up like that? From the looks of it, the Ice Mountain made it very easy for one to end up sealed. The problem is how. Chower was the only one to see it happen to Jua Fan, and so the Sword Kings got over their rivalry and asked, Humph, it's obviously the work of that wretched heaven-sealing CAO. Heaven-sealing CAO. The hell is that? The North Sea Demon. Chower rolled her eyes with a huff. The 3 exclaimed. The Sea Demon sealed the crafty punk. Bailey Yutian's eyes shone. The thirst for battle reignited. He looked around and shouted, Sea Demon, I've long heard of you and have come for a challenge. Patriarch. The Sword Kings looked tense at Invincible Sword, sweat trickling down their brow. The Sea Demon was famed for its savagery, and challenging it before knowing its strength was ill-advised. Patriarch, you just finished fighting a 9th-level Imperial Beast and are exhausted. You'll only be worse for wear if it turns out the Sea Demon is to be at the same level. Best you rest a couple of days, then challenge again for best chances. The strong had a powerful drive to challenge the stronger. The Invincible Sword was called such because he had been through countless deadly fights, but always prevailing. Where was the challenge in fighting a winning battle? The old guy had a nasty temper too, eager to throw himself into the fray against the Sea Demon. Regardless of its power, Sea Demon, I'm the strongest in the 5 lands, the Invincible Sword. Show yourself now, or are you afraid? Ha ha, then you should be running back to the sea, not coming to shore. Hi. Yokels are the most ignorant. CAO's creepy voice crackled. I'd have turned all you humans to pieces if it weren't for that heaven-sealing barrier. Now someone comes to run their mouths? You have a death wish. Bailey Yutian's eyes shone. Resolved to fight no matter what. Anyone can talk, but hardly anyone can put their money where their mouth is and fight me. Stop hiding like a coward and yap along. That's the way of the weak. You call yourself strong? Hi. Heaven-sealing CO laughed louder. Foolish human, if you're strong, the crickets and bugs ought to kill themselves in shame. Ha ha. Bailey Yutian turned cold, brandishing the sundering sword as he shouted, Sea Demon, enough talking. Show your face if you dare, so I can kill you. The sundering sword? The Sea Demon cried. So that's why. You're the sundering sword's successor. Bailey Yutian spoke coldly. I've been using the sundering sword's art for thousands of years, reaching perfection. Scared? Ha. Scared? That swordsmanship can't harm me. The scared one should be Little Thunder Phoenix. The 5 sacred weapons might look intimidating, but they hold no sway in my domain. Human, you shouldn't have brought it along. Hi. Bailey Yutian was perplexed. So you don't know. The sword is divine, but your strength is unable to unleash its potential. For the divine swords to restrain us, they need sacred stones. Now, you no longer have that chance. What's that supposed to mean? Bailey Yutian shouted rumble. The world shook and the distant mountains of ice and snow crumbled. It was like an omen that a demon was clawing its way out of hell. You'll be staying here, along with the sword. Hi, hi, hi. The rumbling grew more intense, like the world was about to crumble. Even Bailey Yutian began to sweat, his heart seizing outside the domain. Ouyang Lingtian, Morong Lai and Shangguan Feixiong used their divine swords as lanterns to ward off the black mist that prevented them from advancing. Each shining in its own light, the three had red faces and gnashed their teeth. Their bodies stretched taut as they strained themselves. With a sudden boom, the entire mist exploded. The shockwave flung back the trio and shook their insides till they coughed blood. The divine swords fell from their hands, and into the mist our swords. They cried to no avail. The swords were gone, and they were too weak to chase. They were helpless to even stop the shockwave from sending them into buildings until they fainted. Invincible Sword had made his mind, focused completely on fighting as he roared. I admit that I am very weak, but my will of being strong hasn't changed. See, demon, show me a peak expert's power. Who? The invincible sword psyched himself up, yet Cao's reaction was to flare its nostrils, sending a chilling air at him. The invincible sword seized on the spot, unable to move. Chapter 1093, A Father's Rage. Chapter 1093, A Father's Rage. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shower's eyes went wide as saucers and turned red from the tears. She pointed a trembling hand at the devious and smug Cao, her lip quivering. Why, you lied. You ate my brother. Give him back now. Hi, 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 girl. No one can tell me what to do. Ha. With a prideful laughter, heaven-sealing Cao gave the little girl a patronizing look. Relishing her desolate and crushed expression, Shower's face twitched. The pain in her heart growing. Father and daughter braved many dangers to come save young Sanzi. But they just arrived here, and her father sacrificed himself, sealed in ice, while Cao toyed with her emotions, giving her an impossible choice. When she did come to a decision at long last, she found out it was nothing more than a ruse, the bastard not planning to keep his word. She and her father were his entertainment. Shower's eyes were bloodshot, roaring, Cao, you rotten bastard! You used me. You broke your promise. You're not worthy of being a sacred beast. Hi, hi, hi. I sure had to mess around with you. What of it? Don't you humans use these petty tricks all the time? I'm only responding in kind. What's wrong with that? But my brother and I aren't humans. You've been corrupt from being around one, which makes you human all the same. Shower raged, but Cao went cold and flashed its fangs with killing intent. I've said before that no sacred beast reeking of human stink will be a sacred beast again. You, the Qilin, and that human father you all attached to are nothing but humans. As long as I'm around, no human will ever leave my presence alive, you included. Who? Cao breathed out a wave of frigid mist, turning into a tornado as it shot for Chower. Chower was unable to move from shock. She had no chance as she was against the heaven-sealing Cao, since she hadn't matured. The three of them would find their end on this very day. Ice spread over her body, creaking as it formed. Chower stared into space, her eyes filled with tears of despair. Forgive me, Father, I failed. I couldn't save my brother. You and I are helpless as well, with me about to join you. Father, brother, see you again below. Chower closed her eyes, having given up all hope, and sank in despair. All that remained of her defiance were those hot tears, evidence of the indignity she suffered. Oh, mocked as she turned to ice. Hi, hi, hi. I told you, little Thunder Phoenix, I never planned on helping either one of you. All I did was use you for the best entertainment. Sorry, but it seems I've given you false hope. Ha. I just love to see my prey squirm. The thrill of seeing that hope broken, the horror, is to die for. Hi, hi, hi. Ah. Chower cried out in powerless defiance. Feeling victimized, she hated Cao and his guile. He never planned on letting them live, yet he imposed on her an impossible choice. He made her see her father and brother as they would die. And when she did finally decide, she came to realize that it didn't matter. She felt utterly powerless. It was better if all three of them had been sent to the hereafter from the start. At least they would go together. Now, she had went through all that torture for nothing. Chower cried out her pain, only feeding Cao's twisted hobby. The cold winds soon took her, about to encase her in ice. Bam! A black sword with black flames then shot from the ice and shielded her. The frigid winds struck the sword instead of Chower, letting out loud hissing of steam instead of freezing over. The tornado was now turned into steam that spread everywhere, enveloping Chower as well. Cao's mad laughter came to an abrupt stop, its eyes shaking as he gave an odd look at the sudden steam. The mist soon cleared and Chower was safe and sound, with a black longsword covered in black flames hovering in front. It gave off an aura that struck fear even in the heaven ceiling. Cao, where did the sword come from? Who did that? Heaven ceiling. Cao flinched, turning grave. Chower looked at the familiar blade and hope rekindled in her eyes, muttering, Father. The hissing drew their attention to a block of ice, now sporting webbing cracks with black flames seeping out of them, only to explode at the very end. Someone walked through the ice pieces and stood next to Chower. He reached out to take the sword and grin. Chower, forgive me for putting you through that. Leave the rest to me. Father. Chower cheered. You're all right? Not possible. I sealed you. I did. How did you break out? Heaven ceiling. Cao gaped in shock, its claws slamming the icy sea, sending violent winds in all directions. Shuafan had been sealed, yet now was standing like nothing happened. He grinned, but his eyes were cold as ice. Senior Cao, I've been nothing but courteous ever since I came to Ice Mountain. You wanted to kill humans and iced me. You wanted Chower to choose, and she did. But even after a little girl did all you ask, you just go back on your deal, just to toy with her innocent heart? That's where I draw the line. How are you any different with your slyness? If you'd have been sealed, you'd never know what happened after. Cao glared at Shuafan and roared. Shuafan smiled. I have the Thunderflame's protection. It's impossible to seal me. But that's besides the point. What matters is that you've been nothing but a disappointment, Senior. You have made Chower cry. And? Nothing. Just. Shuafan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst. He flicked the sword, pointing it at the huge head. You stirred a father's rage. You toyed with my daughter and took my son. I'll have you pay for that. Heaven ceiling. Cao eyed him, then cracked up in disdain. Ha ha ha. You make me pay? Getting out of my seal changes nothing. I hardly need to lift a finger to squash bugs like you. You can't do anything to me. I'm not trying to, only letting you know that toying with your adversary must come while aware of the situation. Some people should never be fooled. Senior Cao. Shuafan's eyes shone as he shouted, charging for the heaven ceiling. Cao. Like the invincible sword did before this time, though. It was Shuafan who challenged the greatest sacred beast. Chower cried, Father, be careful. Shuafan's eyes were grave. Humph. Screw careful. You're nothing but an arrogant bug. You can only be careful against a worthy match. You, human punk, have nothing on me. Who? Cao breathed out another wave of cold towards Shuafan, the wind swirling into twisters. It was more than enough to freeze him into an icicle. Once more Chower watched with her heart in her throat, worried sick for Shuafan. Boom. Shuafan had no intent to even dodge, slamming into the twister with a bang and letting the cold seep in his bones. That's that. Cao smirked in disdain, then felt the need to gloat over Chower as well. He didn't get the chance as a figure dashed through the twisters enveloped in writhing black flames. Chapter 1094, You Lose. Chapter 1094, You Lose. Proofreader, Papatonks. How? Heaven ceiling. Cao was overwhelmed at the sudden development. His sealing never failed him ever and always struck true. This was the might of the apocalyptic Thunderflame, a power beyond the 5 great sacred beasts. His seals had no effect at all, not to say that Cao was powerless against Shuafan, who had a far weaker cultivation. Shuafan had quality, while Cao had quantity, lots of it. Cao needed to just ramp up the power output and not get taken in by Shuafan's words. Then he would seal him no problem. Shuafan knew this as well, his eyes shining as he sped up to fly faster for Cao's head. The only chance at winning against a peak power like the Cao was to capitalize on his disdain and slight. He had to strike in the smallest window to give a deadly blow to the enemy, and offer some hope at victory as for any other situations? He was doomed, dead. Finished. Zhuofan squinted, touching his thunder ring, going even faster and crossing half the CAO's bulk. The beast smirked half a second later. Amusing. That's an interesting black flame you got there. It can even overcome my seal. I wonder, just how much of it does your puny human body contain? Will it burn all of my seal's power? Heaven-sealing CAO breathed out at Zhuofan once more. A sea of cold air came like a flood. As if the heavens fell on top of Zhuofan's head, the attack was tens of miles thick and 100 wide. That was no flood, but a literal mountain of ice and cold. The thunder flame within Zhuofan was bound to be snuffed out under such deluge. And when it failed, so did he. Sealed in this ice like other countless humans before him, he only escaped last time due to CAO's obnoxious disdain. Now, the CAO would not make the same mistake again. Zhuofan's eyes shook, gnashing his teeth as the immense attack was about to hit him. His left eye's thunderflame roiled, while the right eye shone in two golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void, second stage. Thunderflame Void Annihilation. Whoosh! A black beam of fire pierced the incoming cold mountain, punching a hole through it big enough for his size. Zhuofan followed right behind the flames. Even so, the cold came closing in around him, eating away at his black flames on his body and turning into mist. It turned out the flood of cold was just too thick in the end. The thunder flame gave signs of dying now and then, but Zhuofan used his eye to get it burning again. He did it despite the strain it put on him, making his eye bleed. For the second the thunder flame halted was the moment it was all over for him. There was no room for error. On the edge of the knifed shower was anxious, unable to provide any bit of help to her father. CAO rose an eyebrow, looking piqued. Why is his skill so familiar? Where have I seen it? Bam! The beam of black flames punched through the thick deluge of cold. Zhuofan flew right out, covered in sweat and huffing. His left eye was bleeding hard, erased as it met the black flames. Zhuofan still charged ahead recklessly. Without regard for his safety, he was at chest level of CAO, and next would be his target, the head. That would be when he had the advantage to grasp victory. Zhuofan stepped forward, while ignoring his exhaustion. Shower eased a heavy breath, now knowing her father had come through, right? Heavenly Sovereign. It's Heavenly Sovereign's Divine Eye of the Void. A howl of fury wrecked the world as CAO's bloodlust spiked. Why, you're with the Heavenly Sovereign. I'm going to crush you to a pulp. CAO slammed with its huge claw, making it look comical compared to the bug-sized Zhuofan. With rage burning in his bloodshot eyes, it roared, Heavenly Sovereign trapped me in here all my life. I'll never forget this debt for as long as I live. For being Heavenly Sovereign's inheritor, you shall die all the same. I'll ground your bones to dust and throw it all away. The huge claw whistled through the air, its pressure stealing Zhuofan's breath away. He then felt his sternum snap and had to spurt blood from the damage. Shocked, Zhuofan turned grave. Just his pressure made me suffer already. That means the moment the attack lands, there'll be nothing left of me. Sweating buckets, Zhuofan was at an impasse. Shower paced in worry, powerless to help. She could only watch and pray for him. Zhuofan was now near the neck. Just 1,000 meters to go. Zhuofan's right eye shone with one golden halo whoosh. CAO's claw slammed down, hitting nothing. Zhuofan had jumped on top of CAO's head with an evil grin. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage. Shift? CAO cried out. It had let anger get to him, and Zhuofan's action slipped unnoticed. But then his intact eye squinted and yellow shone from it. Humph, rotten punk. Don't think for a second that popping around the place will stop me. Your skill is crude at best compared to Heavenly Sovereign's. Void Seal. Ripples flew in all directions, giving Zhuofan the impression there were walls all around him. Now there was no way of escaping through Shift, not that he cared, having reached his target. He smirked in glee, his hand touching the thunder ring. CAO was clueless to his intent, merely laughing at the fact the rat was trapped, laughter laced with sorrow. Ha ha ha, let's see you run now. There's nothing you can do. You can't harm a hair on me. Conceited little shit. Just because you got a taste of Heavenly Sovereign's inheritance, you think you can blow your horn in my face? The only reason you survived so far is because I never saw you worthy of my attention. Now that you're with Heavenly Sovereign, you'll feel all my wrath. Heavenly Sovereign, you son of a she-dog. I can't take it out on you, so I'll crush your successor to soothe my hatred. Cao cursed and shouted, snapping his head around and opening his maw to bite at the space-locked Shuafan. Rotten punk. I'll make mincemeat out of you, and there's nothing your master, Heavenly Sovereign, can do about it. Ha ha ha. Cao, hold on. My father has nothing to do with Heavenly Sovereign. You're wrong about him. Shower cried out, but Cao was past listening, his eyes red with sweet retribution. He wanted the kid eaten to quell the hatred festering within. So what if he got it all wrong? The target was human, wasn't he? All humans deserve death in his book, Father. Shower's worry for Shuafan only mounted, seeing he wasn't listening. Shuafan ignored everything, only focused on the ring shining on his hand. As the abyss that was Cao's maw closed in, his grin only grew eviler. Heaven sealing Cao. Your loss today is all because of your conceit. What? Cao reacted out of reflex, still going in for a bite. Shuafan had a strange spark in his eyes, his snicker growing to his ears. I'm saying thank you for giving me this chance. You lose. Whoosh. Shuafan flicked his hand, and a miniature sun appeared, scorching and terrifying. Chapter 1095, World of the Strong. Chapter 1095, World of the Strong. Proofreader, Papatonks. That's. The huge eye squinted and heaven-sealing Cao gasped as he shouted, Old Dragon's full-powered dragon breath pill? Why would he give it to you, Heavenly Sovereign's successor? Ha ha ha, he'd never trust me if I really was Heavenly Sovereign's successor. But there's a difference between being a successor and learning his ultimate skill. I agreed to help him, and he shields me. Like you said, they're all after something and not noble like you. As for now, Shuafan's eyes shone cruelly, ready to throw the dragon breath pill. Cao was shaken up, scrambling to flee. He rushed to close his mouth and stammered, Now hold on, let's talk about this. Don't. Talking only works among equals. But you, sir, are too strong. Shuafan didn't fall for his stalling so he could escape. So Shuafan threw the fireball without qualms, shouting coldly, Here's my gift, Senior Cao, for looking after my children. Also, Senior Dragon Ancestor sent his regards. May you eat well and stay healthy. Ha. The dragon breath pill crushed any barrier in place as it swirled straight into Cao's gaping abyss. Boom. Everything was dyed orange as the flames unleashed a sea of flames. Dragon Ancestor's full-powered dragon breath pill went off in Cao's mouth, and the raging torrents of heat and fire shot in every direction. The terrible flames melted all ice in an instant, turning the sea into steam before it as well was erased in the scorching heat. Cao's fangs broke off then and there, ruined. The fire made its way deeper and into his body, every nook and cranny, engulfing his organs in boiling lava. Only when all his being was saturated with fire did it leak out, sending plumes of blood high in the sky and a mist of red. His body was now in dire straits as tons of blood spewed out of his mouth. His proud visage now paled greatly, his scales black, singed or burned with one strike. Shuafan was close to taking his life as Cao was on the same level as Dragon Ancestor. Taking such a blow had serious consequences. Only this time, it was even worse. The only way Dragon Ancestor could reduce Cao to such a state was by risking his own life in battle. It all came down to how cautious they were of each other. When fighting, they always kept their senses sharp, while Shuafan was fairly easy to look down on, being a puny human and all, working in his favor. He used his own weakness to his advantage, making the other show the perfect target to strike by opening his pie hole. This was something no being in the world, and in their right mind, would make such a monumental mistake. The inners would always be weaker than a thick skin. If left with no choice, taking Dragon Ancestor's full-blown attack on his body was much better. At least it would leave a bruise or a cut. As for taking it out with his mushy insides, that was positively life-threatening. Then again, who could blame Cao if in his shoes? Shuafan was just too weak to even tickle his stomach if he detonated inside. Who'd ever saw it coming that he'd deliver Dragon Ancestor's attack instead of himself into the maw of the beast? It was no different than dragon ancestor breathing fire down his gullet in a duel of peers. Why would one expose their weakness? To die. Zhuofan hit him more than good this time, practically destroying him. Since that was the plan all along, using Dragon Breath Pill from the start would hardly make Cao even twitch, only making him angry. Instead, the best course was to be a patient hunter for the right moment to strike. As he did, his plan involved using 2 Dragon Breath Pill, one on the face to pry the jaws open and the second down the hatch. It was like a boon from heaven itself how the guy simply offered himself from the start. That was why Zhuofan even drove the nail in by saying he lost, since he exposed his weakness. And now Cao was paying the full price for it. Heaven sealing, Cao roared in pain, tearing up even. He swore on his life that such disgraceful defeat had never happened to him in his long, long life. He never suffered so much ever. Yet the day finally came that a bug from the mortal domain did him good. He, the overlord of the sea, a sacred beast. He was enraged. He lost all his honor and howled with bloodlust. You little shitty bastard. You're not getting out of here alive. Ha ha ha, Senior Cao. Do you think you're in any position to make threats? Zhuofan mocked as he watched the black scales fall off the maimed body and smelled the burn coming out from that blood spurting from him with another spray of blood in tons. The sea took darker shade of red. Heaven sealing, Cao glared at Zhuofan. Don't get cocky, bastard. I haven't keeled over just yet. Wounded as I am, it's still more than enough to deal with the likes of you. Die. Heaven sealing, Cao reached with his claw to slap Zhuofan out of existence. Bam. All Cao did in the end was break an iceberg into ice cubes. Zhuofan flashed on the singed and wounded claw, sporting a smug and evil grin. Ha ha ha. Senior Cao. I see you don't feel like talking. The feeling is quite mutual, I assure you. I have no intent of settling this peacefully. Our debt is far from over. Zhuofan's eyes shone and waved his longsword. The black flames on it roiled as he then shoved the pointy end into the claw paw. The deadly black flames and the sharp edge of the sacred weapon went through the tough scale without a hitch, letting out booms after booms. This is for young Sanzi. Even more wounded, Cao wailed. He slammed with the other claw, but Zhuofan was long gone, now appearing on a shoulder. He slashed this time, and the black thunder flame licked the scales and blew many away. That earned another howl from the sacred beast. This is for Chower. Pitiless, Zhuofan lashed out all over the huge body and leaving gaping bloody wounds in his wake. Zhuofan was not about to let this bastard toy with his own daughter and had her suffer in vain. Senior Cao. You're hanging by a thread at this point and can hardly muster the strength to seal me at this point. Your huge body now became a burden. Now I ask you what you asked me. What can you do to me? Ha ha ha. Zhuofan cackled, buzzing around the huge Cao like an annoying flea, slashing and poking at every chance. Cao was powerless to swat him. Reduced to roaring and crying in pain, he was a proud sacred beast, among the best in the sacred domain. Even the sovereigns were weary of him. His stride must have come to an end, since now even he ended up toyed by a nobody. It was a disgrace. No matter how humiliating it felt, he could do nothing, for he was on the verge of dying. And that was due to Zhuofan's grace too? Or he could have just thrown another dragon breath pill and be done with heaven sealing Cao. He would be the first in the mortal domain to kill a sacred beast. His name would go down in history. Ha ha ha. Ah. Zhuofan laughed like mad while Cao cried out in pain. Thanks to the early searing heat wave and the endless rumbling, the 4 sealed experts were thawed. The invincible sword gripped the sundering sword and suddenly coughed blood with ice and fire. The sword kings had it worse, spurting a couple more times. They turned worried towards him. Patriarch, are you all right? I'm fine, just a serious wound. The invincible sword took a deep breath and spewed blood with flame and ice again. What happened anyway? The trio shrugged in confusion. Right as the symphony of wails and laughter reached their unfiltered ears, curiosity got the best of them, and now they were witnessing a most bizarre play that left them dumbstruck. Before them was a battle of the strongest. Chapter 1096, I Lost. Chapter 1096, I Lost. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ah. Heaven sealing Cao shouted in rage and pain, twisting and jerking from every attack. He flayed his tower-sized claws around in a futile attempt at ending his torment and squashing the bite-sized interloper. But the meal just wouldn't stay put, having also learned to bite back and hard at every chance it got. The end result was mounting wounds, tons of blood loss, and excruciating pain for the overlord of the Sijua fan cackled all the while, his eyes savage and sadistic each time his blade sunk into Cao's flesh. Ahahaha. The invincible sword and the Sword Kings blinked constantly, trying to get some sense of this absurd development. Bailey Yuyun's face twitched as he strained to ask, what's he doing? Is it me, or is he torturing the monster? It's all real. I never once took the kid to pull something like this. The invincible sword was just as dumbstruck, looking dazed. What happened to me? Patriarch, the monster blew its nose and encased you in ice. And then, what happened after? We got frozen too and don't know. Bailey Yufeng looked on stiffly as he gave automatic and flat replies. He forgot all about decorum while Bailey Yutian lost his customary pride, reduced to giving an unconscious nod and forgetting about chiding the junior's lack of respect. That's what this so-called fight did to all of them. Cao's humongous body that was riddled with wounds entered his vision. He felt he was still in a dream. I couldn't even touch this monster and now someone is toying with him? How did the kid do it? Bailey Yutian's brow shook and sighed along with his Sword Kings. Regardless of how, the strength must be absurd. The kid was being honest when he said he could wipe out the 5 Sword Kings back then. In the case of him having the same powerful tool, he wouldn't admit it either. This was a true trump card. If it could cripple the likes of Cao, then who in this world could withstand it? I was a dreaded existence, yet humiliated to such a degree. Thank heavens we have yet to reach a point of no return with him. The Sword Kings sweated buckets, and the invincible sword squinted as his jaw set in defiance. Boom. The powerful shockwave spread everywhere and picked the 4 off their feet. Flinging them all over the place, they slammed into the ice hard 1,000 meters away, heavily bleeding and looking much worse for wear. Looking back at the main event, they found the source. Cao wanted to squash Zhuofan, and this had resulted in them suffering for it. Zhuofan made a quick escape out of the attack's reach, popping on the beast's head and using the flaming sword. Ha ha ha. Senior Cao, with this strike, I give you my blessings. Bam! The black thunderflame flashed across the head and made blood spurt out of it. Heaven-sealing Cao howled once more, in anger and pain, but mostly futility. A sacred beast like him couldn't do anything against some lousy brat? He waved his claws again, trying everything to slap Zhuofan out of the air, but all he got was laughter for his efforts as the bug used these chances to dodge and slash twice more. Cao unleashed twisters with every wave, shaking the world around him. But what gave the greatest horror was the constant cackle of Zhuofan from within the winds. Like a devil from hell, he clawed his way out to toy with his prey while flaying it alive. The Sword Kings gulped hard, their hearts running wild as they made sure to dodge an errant ice block blown their way while keeping their eyes on Zhuofan. What was most prevalent was the terror in their eyes. Why didn't anyone tell us this kid is a freak of nature? The monster is like a child compared to his sadistic streaks. Is he the devil? Patriarch, we'd better run before we get caught up in that kid and see demons battle. Looking behind, he saw the thick black fog filled with holes from the searing heat wave. Bailey Yuyun perked up and urged Bailey Yutian. Bailey Yutian cursed. Humph, are you in that much of a rush to flee for your life, you weakling? In all my long years roaming the world, I've not once feared another's fight. You're right, Patriarch. No man in the 5 lands can stop Patriarch, but these two are anything but humans. Better to be safe than sorry, sir. Bailey Yuyun was hopeful as he shook all over while pleading. He knew Patriarch was not one to listen, but this was not the time to throw a hissy fit. They were all sporting deep wounds, and they might very well meet their end from Cao's stray attack. Patriarch, let's just go, please. Bailey Yuyun was sweating all over. Bailey Yutian turned from him to the battle between man and beast and sighed. We're leaving. Great, Patriarch. The trio cheered. Ding. Bailey Yutian paused, looking at his hand to find the purple sundering sword shaking, while pointing at the Cao with hunger. Invincible swords had a pained gaze. Sundering sword, you want to fight, don't you? Ding. Sundering sword gave a jerk in response. I'm afraid we can't. That fight isn't one we can meddle in. That is the world of the strong, a world I have yet to even enter. Bailey Yutian sighed, sapped of strength while tightening his grip on the sword. The moment I held you in my hand, I vowed to the heavens to take you to the summit. You made the right choice accepting me. Over the following millennia, I never stepped back against any that faced me. I'm sorry, but now I understand that I've yet to take you to the peak. I am truly weak, but rest assured, my promise hasn't changed. The day will come when I will take you into such a peak fight. For now, we must withdraw as we don't qualify to join it. Ding! The sword was restless still, though it soon quietened. It had now forgotten its mission of killing the sacred beasts. Even with one before it, wounded as it was, the sundering sword still gave up. It had long since become one with this human expert. The invincible sword's wish was the sword's. It wanted to challenge a sacred beast while being held and not go take one down by itself. The invincible sword smiled. Thank you. He flew out of the mist, with the sword kings behind him. But not before he gave Zhuofan one last look, shouting, Zhuofan, don't you die on me. I will one day rise to the top, and for that I need that ticket in Devil Mountain. Bailey Yutian then vanished in the fog. Zhuofan shook and smirked. He shifted out of another claw and popped next to Chower. Stop, I lost. Cao, in the middle of his craze, jerked to a stop. He turned a confused eye on Zhuofan. What's with him? Why give up? I might be strong and look tough, but he has dominated the fight all this time. Why then? Chapter 1097, Gentle. Chapter 1097, Gentle. Proofreader, Papatonks. The humongous creature plunged into the sea, sending a tsunami in every direction. Heaven-sealing Cao gave Zhuofan a dark look of confusion. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing besides losing. I now await my sentence. Ding! He let vaulting sword slip and stick into the ground while he sat down. Chower cried, Father. Cao was perplexed. What's the damn kid's angle this time? Zhuofan had a genial smile on his face. Gone was the mad and sadistic expression, now looking like a real gentleman that wouldn't hurt a fly, preaching love and peace. A disturbing silence ensued. Heaven-sealing Cao was still tense and on guard at the sudden change. His fury now cooled down to a confusing calmness. All that he could think of were questions upon questions. He even forgot what he was supposed to do. His brain stopped working the minute Zhuofan gave up out of the blue. Why? You don't want to punish me? I take it we can talk then? Zhuofan watched Cao just staring there with a dumb look and smiled. Senior Cao, please spit out my son. Cao flinched and then exclaimed in anger, Are you making fun of me now, brat? No games and no insults. I only have a simple request for Senior to calm down and negotiate better. Zhuofan smiled like a sage of boundless wisdom. His back was straight, his gaze deep. As I've said, talks or negotiations are conducted between equals. Please forgive my earlier transgression. With Senior's rage, it made it hard for my words to reach you. That is why I resorted to such tactics. I hope Senior can settle down now. Settle? Eyelid twitching. Cao snapped. You wish. Merely looking at your face get my blood boiling. There's no settling. And why would I ever talk to you? I want nothing more than to grind your bones and flay you alive. Wrong. Zhuofan's gaze met his, unfazed at the outburst. Not us, but me. You want to flay only me, right? Cao shuddered, giving a long and heavy sigh. Zhuofan glanced at Chower behind him, then at Cao. In our fight, Senior Cao could do nothing to me. Senior Cao could at any time swallow Chower and threaten me to stay put. Why didn't you? Humph. Sacred beasts have their pride. Unlike humans who stoop to any low, even taking hostages. Cao spat. Zhuofan shook his head. Senior, you're contradicting yourself. When you toyed with Chower, Senior had used all manner of dirty tricks humans employ. From the way I see it, besides Kuenpeng, Senior is the closest towards human nature among the 5 great sacred beasts. With danger hanging overhead, mentioning a sacred beast's pride sounds like a tasteless joke, Senior. I. Cao's words got stuck in his throat, put on the spot, but then he grew stubborn. That was merely out of anger that I forgot about the girl. I don't need you to remind me. Zhuofan shook his head, the smile never leaving his face. You should have said it at the start and I might have believed you. However, aren't you contradicting yourself with what you said before? Ha ha ha, Senior. You never considered Shower a hostage or intended on killing her, did you? Cao winced. The 5 great sacred beasts are unique in this world. Zhuofan took a deep breath as he gazed above. As soul beings, no matter how much bad blood is between you, would you still be so quick to cut each other down? The very top is a place of endless solitude, even more when everyone around you dies out. Cao was grave. Zhuofan continued. Senior does indeed hate humans to the bone, willing to even take it out on the sacred beasts that humanity corrupted. That bloodlust directed at Shower did not lie. That's why I believe Senior truly wanted Shower and young Sanzi dead. But humanized sacred beasts are nothing more than misled children. Regardless how furious, how outraged Senior was, were you still willing to end them? As such, I've always been watching you from the start, Senior, to see if the madness was real or not and whether you'd be willing to kill young sacred beasts. I'm glad to say Senior has not crossed that line. That can only mean young Sanzi is safe. So I ask Senior to heal him. Zhuofan gave a full bow of respect. Damn you. Human, are you tricking me? Is that it? Heaven's ceiling. Cao set his jaw, his huge eyes turning bloodshot as he raved. Over many years, I've seen more people than I could count and know the darkness that lies in a human's nature, but you are the most sinister and cunning of all. I knew it the moment you used Old Dragon's attack. Now you're breaking my principles, twisting my beliefs so you can get your young Qilin back as good as new. No, I will not listen to you. Come fight me if you dare, but I will never do what a human asks even if it kills me. Shower's face fell, looking worried at Zhuofan. He shook his head. Don't say that, Senior. I said it's my loss already. You call that a loss? Look what you did to me, and you're holding all the cards. You can leave when you want, or even kill me. Why is it I can't see you lose out on anything? I lost from the very beginning. Zhuofan sighed, saluting. Young Sanzi's Qilin shield is damaged and Senior is the only one that can restore it. I brought him to request your help. This put me at a loss, from which I could never recover. The only thing left for me to do was not to suffer a total defeat, losing even that with which I came. Nothing I could do will ever change Senior's refusal to help. That is why I ask Senior to lend a hand for the sake of the 5 sacred beasts. Heaven's ceiling. Cao gave him a long look then snickered. Hi. After all that yapping, we finally reached the real issue. Let me tell you. Senior. Zhuofan's shout cut him off, his gaze steeled in determination. Senior won't heal Qilin all because of me. Let me bear all of Senior's loathing towards humanity. As long as Senior agrees to save him, Senior can take a life for a life. Father! Shower cried. Heaven's ceiling. Cao shook, his eyes having a strange glint. Senior might deny all you want, but know that you can't do anything to me unless I let you. Qilin and Shower are both your juniors and can't do anything to stop you. I am the one who earned your ire, your bitter enemy. If you want to take it out on someone, would you feel better killing me or them? Zhuofan smiled. Senior's malice needs to be let go, and I'm willing to be the means to do it, on the condition that Senior lends a hand. Shower quivered, her tearing eyes never leaving Zhuofan as she bit her lip. Drawing blood, she knew no one could change Zhuofan's mind once he was made up. This was also his only option. Cao was stunned, suspicion flashing in his eyes. Then he cackled. Hi. You're just too shrewd. Are you up to your mind games again? He. You think I'll sympathize and won't kill you? Wrong. I will definitely crush your bones and scatter your pieces everywhere. Cao slammed his palm on Zhuofan's head. The violent winds were sharp enough to rend the ice around. Shower's tears flowed down her cheeks. Wait. A shout came just as the palm reached Zhuofan. The heavy palm grounded to a halt. Cao parted the claws to peek at Zhuofan with a mocking smile. Hi. I just knew you were working an angle. You played the noble sacrifice thinking you could earn my sympathy. Once I save the Qilin, you can just use it for your mind games, making these 2 pups want to die for you. Sneaky human. I've seen this old trick already, and it won't work on me. Ha. Senior, that's not it. Since Senior mentioned trickery, Senior ain't exactly trustworthy either. Zhua Fan's eyes shone, taking off his ring and throwing it to Chower. My sacrifice can't be in vain. Once I die, Senior CAO must save young Sanzi. But if Senior breaks his word, there's another dragon breath pill in there you can throw immediately in his face. He'll be sure to join me and young Sanzi in hell once he takes another one. Just remember not to waste words or listen to him. The instant he stalls, throw it. Chapter 1098, Backlash. Chapter 1098, Backlash. Proofreader, Papatonks. Are you threatening me? No, a mere precaution. Zhua Fan had an evil grin. I believe without a doubt that Senior wants me dead while eager to help young Sanzi. The human heart, a complex concept, appears similar in some aspects to Senior's actions. As such, I am unable to confirm whether Senior would keep his word or not, contradicting himself once more. While I'm most sure that people won't readily give up their lives out of stubbornness, we all know that the true winner is the one living. You kill me then die yourself from a tantrum? What's the point? Ha ha ha. CAO stared hard, his eyes flashing with bloodthirst. Fine. Now can I get on with it? Are you that willing to give your life for the young Qilin? He's my son. There's nothing I wouldn't do. Zhua Fan showed a bright smile. CAO's brow shook and the claw resumed its savage descent. Great. Now die, human. Whoosh. The thick bloodlust bore heavy on Zhua Fan's shoulder. Father. Chower cried out, holding the thunder ring tight. Her body was shaking all over, and her heart was ready to break. Her father was about to die for young Sanzi's sake. Zhua Fan sat with his back straight at the coming winds, his eyes crystal clear. The palm halted at the very end for some reason. CAO shifted it back and looked coldly at the unfazed Zhua Fan. Kid, there's no chance of winning this fight. You won. Bam! CAO slammed the claw into the water, sending a huge wave all around. Zhua Fan smirked. Thanks, father. Chower was stunned. Sure, she was thrilled Zhua Fan hadn't been splattered all over the place, but a large part of her was plagued by confusion and doubt. CAO lowered his eyes and said, Little Thunder Phoenix, I knew from the beginning this human was sly, but you two children meant the world to him. Under my taunts, any other cunning man would fake sincerity and gain my sympathy. He acted like he was after something to provoke me into being savage and cast all my hatred on him while leaving you and the young Qilin out of it. You're wrong there. I really was after something. That never changed. Zhua Fan threw his 2 cents. CAO shook his head. It takes a lot of nerve to admit it to my face. The fact that you were willing to take all my hatred for the children made you grow in my eyes. Zhua Fan nodded. I never imagined you'd then come out of my seal and reduce me to such a state. I knew it was all to enrage me so you could give your life for Qilin, but you really went all out. You are one shrewd prick. You almost had me fooled as well. CAO continued. It then occurred to me, wasn't I making a mistake, perhaps? Weren't you afraid I'd kill you then forget about saving Qilin? As you sacrificed yourself, I then realized all of it was nothing but a grand scheme to you. You angered me just so I'd give value to your death in exchange for Qilin. With one minor detail. Zhua Fan scratched his nose. I did aim to garner Senior's rage, but when I rained havoc on Senior, there was hardly any planning involved, doing it for Chower's sake. It felt great too. CAO stumbled and then glared at him. It only proves your genuine feelings. Why get so angry if you never saw the children as your own? The victim in all of this is my weary old body, now wrecked. But with all of these, I still couldn't believe you. What had me stop my desire to end you were your eyes. My eyes? Yes. CAO sighed. I once caught a youth who had the same look as you. Calm, peaceful and steady. He only moved with the purpose of understanding the world, the Tao. He did it in the end, becoming a sovereign, becoming a dear friend of mine. Then why would he betray this bond? I never fully understood and have been in constant search of this gaze. One after another, people came, soon turning into millions upon millions. But not one proved of help on the verge of death. Everyone has anxious looks to some extent. Those self-righteous zealots are no different. So how then could such a gaze exist in the first place? Human, Why didn't you have any hesitation beneath my palm? Did you truly believe I wouldn't kill you? You may be an expert in mind games and seeing my intent, but is your heart that steady even in death? Zhuo Fan mused for a moment and shook his head. An unsteady heart is born out of regret. Regret gives rise to fear, anger, and many more raw emotions. I had none as I sacrificed myself for my son. I had no true regrets, just some qualms. My promise to my wife and the promise to battle with another would not be fulfilled. So that's why. Cao sighed. The Tao can be split in two, obsession and detachment. The obsessed can't achieve it unless they let go. You have detached yourself from life and death, but cling to your vows. It's rare to find such a combination of characters. Kid, you have what it takes to become a sovereign. I'm sure of it. Now it all comes down to you if you can grab one of the 10 paths to heaven. Zhuo Fan nodded. Cao raised its head and, with a rumble, something flew out of his mouth. A blue and clear ice landed on the ground in the 1 by 2 meters. Young Sanzi rested, brother. Chower cried in joy. With Zhuo Fan looked on with hope. Cao wiped his mouth. He only survived by luck. I put him inside a pocket in my body, or he'd have died from the dragon fire. Senior. My stomach makes the heaven-sealing coffin. Cao said. His Qilin shield is damaged, and to heal it I needed my gastric juices to permeate his body. The child will stay in the ice coffin for 49 days. The moment it thaws will be the day he is healed. Zhuo Fan bowed and cupped his hands in gratitude. Thank you, Senior. I shall never forget this. Chower bowed as well. All smiles. You were right. As a sacred beast myself, we're unique, and it would bring me solitude in a world less of one. But us, old ones, are stuck in our prisons and can't look after them and need someone reliable. Uncle Cao, weren't you hating humans? Now you're entrusting us to one? Chower started, then giggled. Cao shook his head. This is hardly a solution. Forced into taking the lesser evil. Humans are hateful, but having been so close to them at some point, I could feel their deep love and sense of duty. For my hatred to be so strong, my love had to be just as strong. In any case, it's better to give you over to someone I can trust than to some twisted people. Zhuo Fan, these two shall be in your care. In this whole wide world, there's only 5 of us sacred beasts left. Senior, be at ease knowing I only have them as children. Zhuo Fan nodded. Cao nodded and smiled back. This human is similar to the first, both pursuing Tao. I hope he'll never change. Pa! A sudden sharp sound echoed and Zhuo Fan's eyes bled out. What's wrong, kid? I don't know. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, his face hard. Pa! The second time, Zhuo Fan felt his eyes burning in their sockets and held them. Again and again, cracking sounds echoed, with the black thunder flame leaking from between his fingers and going berserk. It spread like a tide of destruction as it covered Zhuo Fan, just how when he fought Cao, only this time. The thunder flame was out of control, the pain growing so bad he had to wail. Ah! Apocalyptic thunder flame, something that should never be in this world, ran amok. Chapter 1099, Hearts Connected. Chapter 1099, Hearts Connected. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? Cold winds blasted and a thick black fog dyed everything in shades of gray. Looking akin to purgatory, Bali Yu watched with worry as the black mist stopped its invasion. Behind her was Shui Ruohua helping Chu Qingqing. She looked behind her, at the open teleportation array, and worried as well. What's taking them so long? Did something happen? Rustle. The grass moved and Wu Qingqiu with Ouyang Chongqing and the rest dragged their feet over to their salvation. But seeing the girls, they started. You should have been long gone by now. Why are you still here? The guy's slow wife refused to go, so we decided to wait for you. I would simply force her through if worst comes to worst. Bali Yu rolled her eyes and pointed at Chu Qingqing behind her. And where is he, anyway? Is he all right? Ouyang Chongqing knew who she mentioned and sighed in exhaustion. He went after the sea demon. It's going to take a while before he arrives. We'd better leave first. The sea demon? Haven't you noticed the creeping black fog? Ouyang Chongqing nodded and asked, Big sister, you should have seen how good Big Brother Zhuo is. He beat up 3 sword kings and after challenging Invincible Sword, dashed straight in to face the sea demon. Invincible Sword must have followed after Big Brother for a fight as well without delay, all plunging straight into the black fog. You're telling me Patriarch is after Zhuofan? Bali Yuyu gasped in fright. Is he going to survive with Patriarch on his heels? Ouyang Chongqing smirked. Big sister, take it easy. Dad said the sea demon is worse by a mile than Invincible Sword. Since Big Brother went for the sea demon, then what's there to fear some Invincible Sword? I'm sure that with a savage beast before him, Invincible Sword would be sure to turn into a sniveling coward. The only danger to Big Brother can only come from the sea demon. It would make Invincible Sword look like an amateur by comparison. Him, look who you're speaking to. Wu Qingqiu glared and cleared his throat before speaking heavily. Frigid Rain Sword King. Ouyang Chongqing is crude in his meaning. Brother Zhua is level-headed and would not come all the way to face the sea demon without precaution. If he can handle the sea demon, that means Invincible Sword is of no consequence. Yeah, so lighten up. You're better off worrying about our situation. Dad said once the sea demon's black fog spreads, everyone is done for. They're now trying to stop it. We better take the chance and run, so as not to drag them down. Then leave, coward. Bali Yuyu bore her sharp stare into him. I don't know how dangerous the sea demon is, but I am clear on Patriarch's strength. No, once Patriarch is after him, no begging from my part will spare him. Bali Yuyu shot for the black fog, shouting behind her, Leave. I've escorted you here, so I've fulfilled his request. Now even Big Sis left. With all of us injured, we'll be dead for sure if anything happens. Ouyang Chongqing chuckled and shrugged, staring hard at the open teleportation array. So we're going, right? Right? Wu Qingqiu sighed with a twitching face. Do you have to ask? Staying won't do any of us any good. And made the first move towards leaving, with others close behind. Wait, Senior Brother Wu. Qingcheng won't leave. Shui Ruahua cried after him. We've been here for a while, but Qingcheng refuses to budge. It feels like she won't leave until Zhuofan returns. Wu Qingqiu sighed in understanding. Junior Sister Chu won't be pleased, but staying here will only burden Brother Zhua. We're leaving, even if we must force Junior Sister Chu to come along. Wu Qingqiu and Yi Lin shared a look and flanked Chu Qingqing. Ouyang Chongqing was most eager, joining them with a bright smile. Sister-in-law, pardon me. It's for your own good. Big Brother Zhua doesn't want you hurting. I know you can't understand me, so sorry. The guys grabbed her shoulders. Akin to divine intervention, Chu Qingqing heard a most familiar wail. She shuddered, and the guys were blown away. Ouyang Chongqing even staggered before smacking his rear on the pavement. The sharp pain made him wince and tear up. Sister-in-law, please, we're only trying to help. Why shield yourself with Yuan Qi and hurt us? Don't you know how injured we are? We can't take your... While he was whining, the Western Lands group looked at Chu Qingqing in shock. In all these years, Chu Qingqing had lost her mind. She hardly showed any reaction, let alone using Yuan Qi for anything. Did this mean she was back? They all lit up, with Shui Ruahua grabbing her shoulder in excitement. Qingqing, why you're awake. Zhuofan, after all these years silent, she stammered a familiar name, her eyes flashing now and then. Everyone was overjoyed. It's a miracle, or maybe triumphant love. In only a few days, Brother Zhua did what we couldn't in years of trying. A heart can heal only with the right medicine. Shui Ruahua was ecstatic, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. Chu Qingqing's lips trembled, while her eyes took on a look of horror. Zhuofan is in danger. He's in danger. She then shot in the air, straight into the black mist. Qingqing, wait. Shui Ruahua panicked and rushed right after her. But the minute she tried using her energy, she coughed blood, falling back. None of the ethers could do anything. Too weak to follow, they came out wounded from the fight with the 10 princes, and merely walking was a miracle. Flying was out of the question. Watching Chu Qingqing vanish, Ouyang Chongqing sighed. Where's Big Sister when you need her? Sister-in-law hasn't been hurt like us, making it impossible to catch her. Did she snap? She's not crazy, just her mind dulled. Since she woke up just now, why take off like that? Wu Qingqiu frowned as he pondered. She mentioned Zhuo Fan being in danger. Did you hear her too? Ouyang Chongqing shrugged. Maybe she's hearing things or restless. Big Brother Zhuo is definitely in danger in the black mist, but how could we ever know? We're not only miles away, but even standing before the mist, there's no way to notice whatever's going on in there. How is sister-in-law so sure then? She totally snapped. Then I fear. Wu Qingqiu looked in the distance, then sighed. Their hearts are connected. That means Brother Zhuo is in serious peril. The rest tensed. Looking grave and worried, Bali Yuyu was rushing through the dark fog when she stumbled upon 4 people flying out. She gasped in recognition. Ugh, can I just pretend I didn't see them? Bali Yuyu shook, conflicted between Zhuo Fan in the mist and the 4 people. She wanted to make sure Zhuo Fan was safe, which was impossible if the 4 caught up to her, so she spotted some ruins around and wanted to avoid them like a plague. But that blasted Bailey Yuyun just had to spot her just then, shouting, "Is that Yuyu? Come quick, Patriarch's hurt." Chapter 1100. Wait. Chapter 1100. Wait. Proofreader. Papatonks. Damn you and those blasted eyes of yours. I was this close to dodging you. Just you wait. The moment I get the chance, I'll be sure to gouge those shifty eyes out of your skull. Bali Yuyu's heart raged while flying over to the 4 in annoyance disguised as shock. Patriarch is hurt? How? Is this how you 3 protect him? Bailey Yuyun sighed. Not even our best was enough. The sea demon is absurd. He couldn't even touch him. The SC demon is that strong, for even Patriarch too. Bali Yuyu's heart sank, knowing Zhuo Fan was in there alone with that beast. How could Zhuo Fan stand a chance where invincible sword failed? Filled with worry, Bailey Yuyu turned to the black fog with tense fists. Bailey Yutian failed to notice Bailey Yuyu's shift. Maybe the deep wounds scrambled his senses. He coughed iced and burning blood and sighed. I've never seen strength like the sea demons. I have suffered a complete defeat, but this is only the beginning. One day, I will come to challenge Ag-Ugh. Invincible sword coughed fire and ice again. His face white as paper. Patriarch, don't speak. We better look for a quiet place to heal. We can't ignore your wounds. Bailey Yuyun urged. Invincible sword waved him off, sighing and looking at the black fog behind with determination. No, I'm staying. I have lost, but I want to see with my own eyes the result of such a powerful showdown and its victor. Powerful showdown? Bailey Yuyu lit up. Patriarch, is someone still in there fighting the sea demon? Bailey Yutian took a deep breath and nodded. Bailey Yuyun sighed with a grumble. Yuyu, speaking of, I have something to say to you. How in heaven's name did you even do your investigation? Because of you, we were this close to making a mess of this and getting wiped out. What did I do? Bailey Yuyu was baffled. Bailey Yuyun spat. You have the nerve to ask? Did you not say that Zhuo Kid is in soul harmony stage at best? A trifle? Yeah, why? Why? Did it ever occur to you that the Missy next to him might have a powerful bauble to give us, Sword Kings, heavy wounds? That child almost had all 3 of us killed. Bailey Yuyun shot a reproaching glare, with the 2 nodding along. Feeling victimized, it was utterly mortifying for a wee girl to make them scramble away in fright. If word got out in the central area, they'd have no self-respect left to even walk outside. Bailey Yuyu gave a confused shake of her head. You mean shower? But she's adorable. How can she be tough? Adorable? That's news to me. Bailey Yuyun's face twitched, fuming along with his 2 brothers, like father like daughter, like master like disciple. With the small one godlike, the parent couldn't be any lesser. Did you not know she has a trinket to handle Sword Kings? What's worse, her dad had something that could end Patriarch. Heaven almighty, he just took out a 9th level Imperial beast, for crying out loud. His spirit animal no less. That's a damn 9th level Imperial beast. I'm willing to bet not all 9 Sword Kings combined could put a dent in its plumage before getting annihilated. SSS. Bailey Yuyu gasped. A 9th level Imperial beast? Wasn't that just a myth? It exists? And he has one? You didn't know? Not a hint. That's why I'm asking, how did you make your investigation? Bailey Yuyun huffed and puffed, turning at the end to Bailey Yutian. We were fortunate Patriarch's skill is divine to kill the 9H level Imperial Beast, the true best in the lands. Ignoring the blatant suck-up, Bailey Utian felt he was at the lowest point in his life to mind anything else. Bailey Uyu's heart jumped in shock. Patriarch killed the beast? When it was his turn, did Patriarch finish him off? Ugh. Bailey Uyun shook from a sudden chill, his face sinking. He peeked at Invincible Sword then barked, "Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong." He can never again be mentioned anywhere near Patriarch. But aren't I talking with you, Brother Yun? I'm saying your info is faulty and almost got us killed. Don't mention it again. All right. Bailey Utian raised his voice, sighing at the black fog. I was about to fight with him when the sea demon arrived. He was after the sea demon, and I wanted to meet it too. All of us entered its domain. I arrived there just to see him frozen by the sea demon and challenge the beast. It ended with me frozen as well before I could even get close. By the time I woke up, I'd found myself gravely wounded along with the three of them. But I witnessed a most shocking scene, one that I would never forget for as long as I live. What? Bailey Uyu was nervous, eager to know Bailey Utian's side. Shuafan and the sea demon fought. He was clearly not to its level, but thanks to an ingenious skill, he was slowly gaining advantage. The sea demon was forced to just take his attacks. That happened after sea demon was gravely wounded, near death. I don't know how he did it, but I'm certain he was behind it. It was thanks to his showdown with the sea demon that a heat wave blasted over us and thawed the ice, while also leaving us with deep wounds. With how the sea demon suffered at such a blow, it's clear that once the two of us fought, I'd have been reduced to ashes. What invincible sword! Ha ha ha! I've been blind all my life, unable to see the vastness of the world. The Sword Kings lowered their heads. Bailey Uyun shot a glare at Bailey Uyu. See? This is what your report did, downplaying the tiger into a cat. He almost ripped us to shreds. It's giving me the chills just thinking about it. Bailey Uyu was stumped, blinking her big dull eyes of their fog. The guy is that great? He sure didn't look like it. Patriarch, you're waiting for the fight to end, but how will you find out the winner? It'd be better if you tended your wounds. Bailey Uyun bowed. Bailey Utian said, "It's simple. We can't see their fight, but the end will be obvious. If Shuafan wins, he'll be coming out. If the sea beast won, the black fog would retreat, leaving nothing behind it." Retreat? Why would he? Ha ha ha, the sea demon would have won a Pyrrhic victory. Is he supposed to wait here for other humans to kill it instead of licking his wounds? Bailey Utian's eyes shone with conviction. So I'll be waiting right here for the conclusion and confirm my next great rival. The Sword Kings started and nodded. Staying with him, Bali Uyu was nervous as she remained here, waiting not for the end, but with hope in her heart that he would come out of the black mist whoosh. Someone shot past just then and plunged into the fog. Bailey Uyu cried out, "Didn't she transfer away? What's she doing here? Can't those louses do anything?" Oh, someone found it tedious and came to die. Bailey Uyu noticed and mocked. That right there is a fight that could end even us, watching from the sidelines. For a mere girl in the 5th layer of ethereal stage to go in is plain suicidal. Ha ha ha. Or maybe the kid won and she'll be safe. Or the kid lost and the sea demon wouldn't spare a single human. It's all up to fate, haha. The 3 Sword Kings jeered, with Bali Uyu nervous as to what to do. Should she go in? But she squashed the thought as soon as it popped. I was to save her for that rotten punk, but now he's in a fight to the death, so why bother with her fate? Whatever, let her go. It's all the same to me however she ends up. Bali Uyu's eyes shone coldly, her heart taking a crueler stance. It's better if she's gone. Then the punk would have no one to worry about. Chapter 1101 4 Sacred Beasts. Chapter 1101 4 Sacred Beasts. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a world of snow and ice, Shuafan howled with black flames writhing all over him. Shower panicked, turning to CAO. Uncle, what's happening? The divine eye of the void he inherited is too weak, while the black thunderflame is savage power beyond any level, now out of his control. Going to extremes, it's very easy for the black flame to run amok, eating him instead. Heaven's Sealing CAO was grave. He has been using the eye skill through the fight, and the divine eye of the void reached its limit for controlling the Thunderflame's nature, thus lashing out. But where did he get the Thunderflame from? Why is it so violent? Why doesn't my seal work on it? Chower grew anxious. Uncle CAO. Dad's apocalyptic Thunderflame is made of 4 sacred beast powers of terrible strength. How can it be controlled? The power of 4 sacred beasts? How? Heaven's Sealing CAO started and paused. Did 9 Serenity's research succeed? Kid, whose successor are you? My master is 9 Serenity's sovereign Ak. I see. Then the old guy did it. Heaven's Sealing CAO nodded and sighed. That's why the Thunderflame is so wild. Made up of 4 sacred beasts' powers, while above our level so my sealing doesn't work. Uncle CAO, help him. There has to be something we can do. Chower could not take it anymore. Zhuofan's wails and seeing him cooked under the flame brought her to tears as she urged Heaven's Sealing CAO. The Bias sighed. The kid gave his all, and summoned taking all my malice for humanity, so he could save young Qilin. I admire his spirit and I could have helped at the start, but weak as I am from the old dragon's fire, it is impossible to suppress the Thunderflame. Water and fire are opposite, and I'm also powerless right now, or else I would have sealed him as he jumped around. What can we do? Nothing. I'm hanging by a thread as is. Heaven's Sealing CAO shook his head. Chower was crying now, filled with pain and worry for Zhuofanwush. 3 flashes came out of the thick black fog and straight for Heaven's Sealing's the 3 divine swords that slipped out of their owner's grasp, sensed Theo's energy, and shot for it to kill this sacred beast. Heaven's Sealing's winced, about to submerge under the sea. But Heaven's Sealing's sword flew around the beast and sent a sword wave freezing his body and placed the other 2 divine swords stabbed deep into his shoulders. Drawing blood, Heaven's Sealing CAO roared in pain. Curses. Despicable. Striking someone who is down. Have you no shame ganging up on me? Is this how your master taught you? To mock him, the divine swords gathered then split again, each striking from a different direction and punching holes in CAO's bulk. Uncle CAO, what's wrong? 3 swords can't be that tough. Why? Chower cried out. Heaven's Sealing CAO felt like crying. I know these sacred weapons better than you. They can't do much without absorbing sacred stones, but as I am now I can't even seal them. They're taking advantage of my state, and with the fire and water in conflict within my body, stopping me from sealing them. Not to mention they're sharp as hell. I can't hold on much longer, Ak. CAO howled in pain, with Chower by herself in worry. What do I do? I'll take on a sacred weapon for you. Don't. They may be weak now, but you're no match still. You'll only die. CAO shook his large head to stop her. He waved his large palm around and slapped the Heaven's Sealing sword away. The 2 swords, however, used the opening to shoot through his chest, drawing another howl out of him. Even with the flesh wounds the swords were giving him, with enough time death would come in the end. Not to mention his bane was among them. The Heaven's Sealing sword. CAO grew restless by the second. What rotten luck today has brought. I should have just stayed home instead. Thinking humans were at war, he planned on causing extra damage to them, only to be the one to get damaged and near death. Blast it all to hell. Couldn't I have checked the stars before coming here? Whoosh. The divine swords ran circles around him, making CAO cry out every time. Chower was unable to sit still from anxiety. CAO was the only one that could help Zhuofan. Without him, Zhuofan was doomed. She was powerless to help anyone. Divine Eye of the Void's 7th stage, Void Seal. Beneath the corrosive Thunderflame, 7 golden rings shone, followed by a shout like that of a beast from Helhum. The 3 divine swords jerked, but they reacted too slow to get away, and the spatial ripple caught them. The swords clanged on the ice, their sword spirits gone. Heaven's Sealing CAO side crack. Ak! The black Thunderflame grew more berserk, eating away Zhuofan's entire left eye. Without it to curb it, the Thunderflame feasted itself on Zhuofan, giving him searing pain. Father. Chower cried out in tears, with CAO hesitating. Kid, thank you for that. I'm amazed you'd help me despite the cruel predicament you're in. Ha ha ha, it's nothing. Fan strained to swallow the agonizing cries as he smiled. I was not helping you. I never owe anyone anything. You save my son, then consider the debt paid. That won't do. Not when saving a fellow sacred beast is a must. Heaven Sealing CAO spokeswoman said. You're saving young Sanzi as a sacred beast, but he's my son. Such a favor I have to pay back. Also, this is also my wish. I knew the Thunderflame would take me one day. It just so happened to be today. My life was doomed from the start. But young Sanzi and Shower have yet to grow and protect themselves. Few are those worthy of absolute trust in this world as well. Sorry, but now it's my turn to entrust you. These children need someone. Senior CAO is their elder, worthy of trust. I saved you so that you may become their rock. I hope seniors will look after them. Shower, I'm going. Use the recoil array to free seniors from their torment. This is your future and your only hope. They'll look after you and be safe. I'll also give you the tools to achieve it. Find Wu Randong in the Serene Shores trading. I had everything laid out. Father. Shower kneeled at his feet in tears. Fan smiled, wishing to hold her one last time, but drew back his hand after seeing the violent black flames. His road was at an end. But unlike his last life, he had a legacy, making it worth it. Fan took a deep breath and closed his eyes, focusing on reining in the pain he felt, yet his heart was at peace. This life has been brief, but fulfilling. CAO shouted at last, Kid, it's too soon to give up. I can't stop the black flames, but I can give you the means to do it yourself. Take it. Heaven Sealing CAO gouged out his eye. Blood spurted like a fountain. Dying, the sea-red CAO offered his palm, and in it rested a blue and dazzling eye. Chapter 1102, Blue Glow. Chapter 1102, Blue Glow. Proofreader, Papatonks. Uncle CAO Shower shuddered. Looking stunned at the huge bloody eye, CAO smirked, gazing upon the eye and the scar it had. That brat, Sword Sovereign, gave it a scratch, but it still has my sealing power. It should work in sealing the black fire from exploding. Really? Shower lit up. CAO nodded, smiling despite the blood seeping from the empty socket. Fan grimaced as he strove to speak. Senior CAO, thank you for your assistance. I am very sorry to have made you to sacrifice Senior's eye. Haha, it's just a useless eyeball. Nothing to it. CAO said, you helped me deal with the sacred weapons. Being incapable of letting go of some, I would only make me look no different from those despicable humans. I would then have no ground and right to hate them. Now get ready to take my seal. I don't like owing anyone, just like you. CAO threw his eye and used his palms to pressure the huge eye and send power into it, soon shining blue. It then shrank down to the size of a human eyeball, drifting toward Fan encased in black flames. The violent fire sensed a deep chill coming from it and cooled, somewhat relaxing from the unspeakable pain. Fan sighed, nodding at CAO. He waited for the blue glow to enter his body and get the flames under control. Whoosh. The eye was about to enter its new place when fire flashed by and sent the eye flying. CAO cried out, crying out in shock. What was that? Thunderflame Void Annihilation. Fan looked stumped. Why? I didn't even use it, Ak. He clutched his head as the black flames came back with a vengeance. Thunderflames cracked the air as it shot all over. Fan raised his heavy head, sending lightning like a machine gun. The dangerous thunderflame struck down in endless numbers, leaving everywhere black flames. Shower jumped away, trying not to get that terrible fire from touching her. Heaven Sealing CAO had trouble with his large bulk, taking on dozens of thunder flames. He once again howled in pain as blood seeped out from the new wounds. Fan gripped his head in agony. His right eye's 7 golden halos flickered, with traces of black thunderflame on their edges and eating their way through the gold. Shower cried out, dodging while shouting, Uncle CAO, what do we do? You have to help him. Ak, blast it. His black flames made the divine eye of the void lash out as well. Heaven Sealing CAO howled as he jerked from every hit. Divine Eye of the Void is Heavenly Sovereign's top skill, focused on the void in particular. In layman terms, it's a vessel sealing large amounts of power for his use. But even he could only ever hold the berserk purple lightning. Now the kid holds the far more ruthless apocalyptic thunder flame. His skill is far below heavenly sovereign as well, and makes it impossible to contain such insane power, as he can't seal the thunder flame. It runs amok. Before was just a bit of violent outburst, while now it crushed its vessel. Divine Eye of the Void has been infected and got out of control as well. The kid is in dire straits now. Once Divine Eye of the Void is ruined, he loses any means of holding the power and it would burn him to ashes. Shower cried out, "What do we do? What of your eye? Can it help, Dad?" "Not anymore." Cao shook his head with a deep frown. He had the Divine Eye of the Void to help settle the savage flames with my eye. Now the Divine Eye of the Void is out of control and has no vessel. Nothing can contain this power, not even me. Can't your eye act as vessel? Are you kidding? I am heaven sealing Cao with the innate power of sealing. My eye has the same power. It's already full of it to accept anything else. Cao rolled his eyes. And what spatial power is stronger anyway than Heavenly Sovereign's Divine Eye of the Void? His ocular skill rises in power with the user. It's not like a sacred beast's innate ability. Not to mention the thunder flame is above our powers. We have no hope of containing it. It can only be the Divine Eye of the Void. My eye has the power to settle it, so he could get it under control. There's nothing we can do to save Father. It's unclear. Cao shook his head. He just lost control of Divine Eye of the Void for now, and is yet to be ruined as well. We just have to purge the thunder flame from his body and I'll seal his eyes. With nothing to generate the flames, it will settle. The problem is how to do it. As he is now, he's a chariot run amok. We have to seal the eye generating the thunder flame, then the Divine Eye of the Void to mend it. Whoosh! Black thunder flame shot by his face in streaks and exploded high in HD sky, punching a huge hole. In it was a bizarre view, a fantastical paradise of rivers, mountains, and nature. Cao gasped, dumbstruck. Shower shouted, This is Father's power? His thunder flame void annihilation is amazing, but not like this. He wouldn't have needed three-headed crow otherwise to intimidate the Sword Kings and invincible sword. This isn't his. It's the thunder flame exerting far more than he can handle. Blanking a few seconds, Cao turned to Zhuofan and shook his head. The thunder flame is out of his complete control and it only grows stronger until it consumes him. If we want to save him, we need to seal it fast. Shower panicked, crying from feebleness. The thunder flame was beyond deadly. And now that the Divine Eye of the Void went crazy too, everything was truly apocalyptic. Who could stop something like this? Father is the source, so how in heaven's name do we remove all thunder flames from him? Shower had tears streaming down her cheeks as she watched Chua howling in the flames. Cao dodged the painful strikes while looking at the eye in his hand with a sigh. It's too late now. Whoosh! A flash of white streaked past them, ignoring the savage flames and hugging Zhuofan's contorted figure from pain. Soft lips then took his hu. A twister enveloped the two, with the woman in white unleashing a pure glow that soon covered the two of them. They had formed around them an exquisite array that shook the world, with the spiritual energy from everywhere surging over. Zhuofan's black thunder flame surged like a tide at the woman-mother. Shower muttered. Heaven sealing Cao started. Looking at the spiritual energy flow around them and lit up, there's always a way. The brat must have saved the world in his last life to have such godlike luck. Heaven sealing Cao. We can seal it. Cao gripped the eye, and his lone eye shone with determination. Chapter 1103, Cosmic Soul Nurturing Array. Chapter 1103, Cosmic Soul Nurturing Array. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a black space, the black flames spread to every corner, burning the 500-meter-long prismatic dragon. It howled from pain, its pristine scales and sharp claws eaten away in moments. The dragon's size was reduced to a third. The dragon squinted and sighed. He gave up hope. With the death of my soul, I'll be erased from this world. The dragon closed its eyes. At peace, he had given up on everything. But then Cao gave his eye to save him, sparking hope. Now not even Cao could do anything to get him out of this disaster. All these changes led to an uneasy heart from peace. He was better off not even trying, alive or dead. Shuafan, haven't you made peace with it? The dragon smiled, free of pain and ignoring the burning flames. A wind blew out of nowhere, brushing the flames and the dragon. The huge dragon froze. Where's the pain? He opened his eyes to gaze in shock. Where's the thunder flame? The cooling breeze passed once more through the space. Pure light followed, shining down like fireflies, bringing a touch of color to this dark place and hope into the huge dragon's eyes. Why is this light so familiar? The dragon stared, feeling soothed under the glow as the light slowly seeped into his body and healed his battered soul. The huge dragon stood proud and majestic once more. What's going on? I was about to die, so why am I alive? Where did the light come from? Did Senior Cao manage to save me? Can I go back to Qingcheng and fight the invincible sword? The dragon roared in laughter, focusing his senses on his real body. The thunder flame was still around, but Shuafan's pain subsided. Opening his eyes, what he saw left him in utter shock. Qingcheng. Chu Qingcheng was hugging and kissing him, though her eyes were still lost. She had done this out of nothing but instinct. Qingcheng, hurry and let go. Shuafan's eyes shook, noticing the ravaging thunder flame around him and Chu Qingcheng. He shouted with panic. He wanted to get his lover away and not drag her down, only to find out he had no strength to even twitch a finger. Leaving him confused, Cao smiled. Awake? Are we? Kid. I don't know what miracles you did in your past life to have someone exchange their life to save yours in such a doomed situation. You truly are fortunate. Exchange with mine. Shuafan reacted at last. The thunder flame now moved from him to Chu Qingcheng and burned her instead. Shuafan gasped, finding himself powerless to help. Qingcheng, leave. I don't want you to save me. Just go. Chu Qingcheng didn't hear him, her sightless eyes staring back at him with her body using her yuan qi to take his flames into herself. Shuafan's heart was in constant pain. The right eye and the now empty and black left socket shedding bitter tears of sorrow. Qingcheng, leave. I don't need saving. Kid, you just don't know how to count your blessings. Who could save you as you are? Cao glanced at him. That thunder flame is devastating and needs the right vessel to contain all its power. But this girl has the empty spirit body. Do you know what that means? Since ancient times, hardly anyone understood its real implications. Allow me to enlighten you. Heavenly Sovereign has the empty spirit body. It's why he got to create the divine eye of the void and grasp sovereignty through the spatial path. Now you get it? She has the same body as Heavenly Sovereign. She can take on your divine eye of the void's role into containing the violent thunder flames. Her soul is a domain soul practicing arrays. With the power of one person, an array can be formed. This array is baffling, able to draw upon the cosmic cycle's power, but not to fight. It is to help. Your soul was about to fade, but the girl saved you in time. Even with the flames off you, you'd end up a wreck with that ruined soul of yours. Now, though, your very core is intact and safe, able to reach sovereignty without a worry. And all thanks to this lass. Shuafan shuddered, looking around lost. Thanks to his extensive experience in arrays, he could glean into its functions despite not having a base. Cosmic soul nurturing array. How can someone know it? How is it you know it? Shuafan shed tears as she looked at Chu Qingcheng, his heart in agony. I clearly ruined it. Yes, even as a sacred beast I can tell this array focuses on soul recovery, a life for a life. Every soul is unique, making using the array lead to soul clashes. That's why only the empty spirit body can use it. Cao sighed. Kid, no one would ever turn their soul into panacea for another, unless she did it for one person, to save him when he needed it most. Kid, you are fortunate to have someone who cares for you so much, to give their life for you. The tears flowed out of his control. Shuafan stared into Chu Qingcheng's empty eyes, filled with sorrow and anguish. Her only thoughts were for me, but she still doesn't recognize me. Shuafan shouted, Chower, get her back. Chower shook and took a step forward. It's too late now. Cao spoke. They're both affected by the thunder flame. Taking the girl will only lead to both of them dying. Let this continue and the brat can be saved. It's either both of you die, or just one. The choice should be obvious for a smart guy like you. Then I'll die with her. Throw her off yourself then. Don't involve the little Thunder Phoenix. Cao snapped back. Little Thunder Phoenix sees you as a father and her as mother. She'll be killing the both of you. As a father, you should not let your own child carry such guilt, Senior Cao. You do it. Don't feel like it. I gouge my eye out for you and everything. Letting you die would mean I maimed myself for nothing. Cao glared at him and turned to the pitiful Chower. This is love, something every sovereign experienced. He needs this pain. But father, Qingqing hesitated, watching Zhuofan struggle to get Chu Qingqing away. Cao smiled. He's now weak due to the thunder flame exhausting his yuan qi. As drained as he is, he can do nothing but go with our wishes. Cao glanced at the two. The black flames were mostly on Chu Qingqing now, leaving only a little left within Zhuofan's body. Chu Qingqing could take in no more. And the more there was of the thunder flame, the faster she burned. At this rate, the flames would consume her before she finished. Cao mulled over the situation, his eyes drifting to the 3 divine swords. The lass alone can't take all the flames. We need to amplify the array. Cao flicked and the 3 divine swords floated over as he mumbled. The array uses the heaven cycle's power and needs the 5 elements at its core to showcase its might. But we don't have them. I am only able to replace earth, fire, water, and wind. Heaven sealing. Cao held out a scarlet sword and stuck it at a spot around Chu Qingqing. Soaring sword, representing the boundless earth. Ding! Soaring sword was on Chu Qingqing's left. Shining scarlet, heaven sealing sword, representing the surging water. Ding! Heaven sealing sword stuck 3 meters from Chu Qingqing. Decimating sword, representing the scorching fire. Ding! Decimating sword stabbed where Cao gestured. The problem was, what came next? Cao frowned but heard a whistle as a black sword floated before him, its blade quivering. Chapter 1104, Sovereign Path. Chapter 1104, Sovereign Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Vaulting sword? Heaven sealing. Cao just stared at it for a while, flinching awake. What's with that look? I didn't even recognize you. Then his eyes lit up. The sword spirit changed, right? Ding! Vaulting sword hummed in agreement. Why else wouldn't you gang up on me with the others? It all makes sense. You changed your master. Ha ha ha. Cao laughed, then grew grave. The kid sure is something to change even a sacred sword spirit for his own use. As a heavenly sovereign inheritor, it's only natural though. That means you want to save your master as well. Go. Vaulting sword, representing the billowing wind. Heaven sealing. Cao pointed and the vaulting sword struck the exact spot, 3 meters from Chu Qingqing with the 4 divine swords included. The array surged and the earth shook. The black thunder flame on Chu Qingqing spread among the divine swords, tainting them black with lightning. Chu Qingqing shook as well, taking in more of Zhuofan's black flames into herself through the array. Her power increased and took it all in with greater speed, leaving the excess her body could not contain to the 4 divine swords for the next half hour. Zhuofan watched as the thunder flame left from him to Chu Qingqing with tears in his eyes and pain in his heart. Chu Qingqing was committed, despite the fire eroding her into nothingness. 2 hours later, the last trace of thunder flame left Zhuofan. Cao went fast into action, before any more were generated in his body. He shot the blue eye into Zhuofan's face, burrowing into the left socket and releasing icy energy hum. Divine Eye of the Void was still out of control and felt hostility towards this intruder, shining in 7 golden halos, unleashing a terrible power. Luck had it the Divine Eye of the Void was far from trained to perfection, just at the 7th stage. While Cao's eye belonged to a sacred beast, albeit damaged, it still proved enough. Using it while the apocalyptic thunder flame had still been around though, and the Divine Eye of the Void would have had the upper hand with the main problem gone. The Divine Eye of the Void alone posed no danger. Even Heavenly Sovereign showed its strongest power when both eyes worked together. One eye was easy to seal before Divine Eye of the Void got any more ideas. Heaven sealing. Cao held out his palm and unleashed a cold twister upon Zhuofan. The heaven sealing eye joined in to cover both eyes' SS's. Zhua Fan's eyes had a layer of ice over them, with a cryptic seal forming on his forehead with it. Zhua Fan's vision went black, losing sight of everything, including that of his wife burning away from the black fire. Who? Heaven's sealing Cao eased a long breath, nodding, kid. The apocalyptic thunderflame I ran amok, damaging divine eye of the void as well. You will have a hard time controlling the two skills for the next while. I have used a heaven seal on your eyes to save them. When the divine eye of the void recovers, you will grasp the seal on apocalyptic thunderflame eye and can open it. Abusing the thunderflame will only get you killed. It's for your own good, so you better take care. Qingcheng. Zhua Fan only focused on his grip on Chu Qingcheng's hand, his ears flooded with the hissing of the black flames. He didn't need eyes to know, the sorrow eating him up inside as he bit his lip. Qingcheng, answer me, even if it's with few words. Why do you want to save me? Chu Qingcheng stared back, devoid of any emotion even as the black thunder flame ate her flesh. Then she closed her eyes as her life got drained away. Zhua Fan howled, his emotions all over the place. He couldn't even cry from the seal Cao side. There's no fault in a man's tears. Crying helps in times of great sorrow. Though it doesn't look like you can. Nothing coming out from the seal. This girl can't be saved either. May she rest in peace. Cao's eyes held nothing but respect for her. Humans are the most fascinating creatures, capable of so much evil, but there are also those worthy of respect. Zhua Fan cried himself hoarse, shouting at the sky with a red face. His heart unable to bear this crushing sorrow. Shower watched her father's weak struggle and mother's demise in tears. She forced the sobs away, though, not wishing to cause more pain to her father's Cao side. The young Thunder Phoenix is more human by the second. But I don't hate it. Haha. Sorrow took Cao, as well as he watched Chu Qingcheng almost gone under the Thunderflame's attack. The body is almost finished, and now comes the soul. Once it is gone, she may rest. You have given me one last frail hope in humanity. Qingcheng. With Zhua Fan's last cry of immense grief, one tear shining in 7 colors came from beyond the icy seal and fell down his face. Heaven's sealing Cao gasped. How? Not even the black flames can escape my seal, so how can a tear? The tear was just that grand, defying his common sense as it swaggered down. It was like smacking him senseless. Is there a leak in my seal, or what? Even so, there's no way a mere tear can slip out. Zhua Fan was in too much pain to register his cry of shock, using his all just to shout his pain. His mind blacked out, and he fell limp, but the prismatic tear fell from his face, and onto the still-burning Chu Qingcheng. A multicolored light exploded, erasing the black flames. A mote of white floated out of the body under the cover of the prismatic light, coming before Cao, the undying sovereign path. Heaven sealing Cao gasped, looking at Zhua Fan in stupefaction. How can it be? How can the kid have a sovereign path's protection? Only the 10 sovereigns can. Cao's eyes grew grave. Just who on earth is he? Shower started, pointing at the prismatic glow. Uncle Cao. What's that? Any that delved deep into Tao becomes a forefather of that path, a sovereign. As he forms his sovereign path, he grasped from the heavens. He would be as undying as the world itself. Graver than ever, Cao glanced at the prismatic light. This glow can only come from those understanding the 10 paths to heaven, something only a sovereign can wield, the sovereign path. It is the core of their beliefs. They would never fall so long as it stays strong. The girl was on the brink of having her soul erased, but the sovereign path saved her last trace. Shower was overjoyed. Does that mean Mother is saved? Of course, and not just saved, but protected under the sovereign path. There's only a handful of beings that can touch her in the world. Cao's eye shook as he watched Zhua Fan unconscious from the heartache, his eye gleaming. Young Thunder Phoenix, just who is your godfather? Why does he know one of the 10 paths to heaven? Shower started, then shook her head, looking between the two. Cao turned to the huge hole the thunder flame punched in the sky, slowly mending. He snatched the resplendent glow in his hand and threw it into the black hole. The hole then closed right after it swallowed it. Regardless of how this path came to be, with the kid so special, I must get his favor. CAO's eyes shone and smirked at the closing hole. Girl, see you in the sacred domain. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1105. Shuddering Heavens. Chapter 1105. Shuddering Heavens. Proofreader. Papatonks. Rumble. The sky was blue, the sun was bright, but a gloom descended with the thundering noise coming out of nowhere and shaking everything in creation. A prismatic glow flooded everywhere, wreaking havoc as it crossed the heavens. It caused the ground to sake as well, incomprehensible as it sounded, surging like waves. As for the people riding the waves, they were barely standing, with the real experts under a heavy pressure from the light, sealing their power and reduced to weak and frail mortals. Even flying was impossible inside a grand and lavish palace among the trees on 7 Sacred Mountain in the sacred domain. A group of white coats with white long beards stooped in an attempt to keep themselves steady. A broad man with a Van Dyke beard stumbled in through the doors, panic on his face. Lord Saints, just what is going on? What is this? We know not, but the world is in turmoil, taking it out on everything. This isn't normal. We've been living for 1,000,000 years, but never seen anything like it. Something must have happened. Check the archives records for anything. The world is about to go through a change. Yes. The man staggered out at once. The Ruby Cloud sect in the sacred domain held a group of Taoist women scrambling as they strained to stand upright. One among them, aged, stuck to the wall while looking above at the prismatic phenomenon. Her heart was frantic, her face a mask of fear while her eyes filled with confusion. Just what is going on? Has sacred domain ever seen such a shocking change? Whoosh! In moments, the prismatic glow faded in the distance. The woman hesitated, then rushed unsteadily in the distance, leaving her disciples behind, still trying to fight the shaking. In one corner of the sacred domain, devoid of the shock and franticness the rest of the domain felt, in a quiet and isolated manner, a creak snaked about a book pavilion where a hand held a chess piece in hand. It shook once before stilling. The sacred domain began rumbling then. With only him and this place unaffected, a sovereign path appeared. Next to him, a man in black and hidden face gasped, "Has he returned so soon? We didn't even feel it." Pa. The hand finally placed the piece on the board. The path is present, but not the user. It's quite unexpected for him to separate himself from it. The sovereign path keeps him alive at all times. With it gone, it means his end is nigh. The man in black nodded as he said, "Should I investigate who he gave the path to?" In the dusky room the man laughed. In the end, don't bother. The sovereign path is born of the world, and only a sovereign can find it. We have no chance, so why try to? Besides, the person protected by the sovereign path has to be important. He will stand out with ease and soon will be found. Also, I'm not content with just his path, but his people. Pa. Another chess piece fell, with 2 glimmers shining peculiar in the gloom. The right shone in 12 golden rings, while the right flickering purple. Your path returned. But when will your man return? Ha ha ha. The dark laughter spread through the world, making even the prismatic glow high above shudder. Rumble. The sacred domain was rumbling still, with every corner jolted around. It took 2 hours for the prismatic glow to fade and the commotion to die down, though all denizens of sacred domain were now shaken to the core and confused. Only some really old and powerful relics knew the truth, as well as the cause of it all. Heaven's Sealing CAO, who was grinning after the mortal domain, got shaken up as well. It's been too long since the 10 sovereigns formed their paths. That's the last time I've seen such a phenomenon. Uncle CAO, what was that? Why did I feel so weak? Finally able to stand still without the ground moving beneath her, Chower asked curiously. CAO sighed. The coming of a sovereign path causes stirrings throughout the world. When the 10 sovereigns formed theirs, the same happened. Once the path enters the body, they would be one and the phenomenon ceases. Enters the body? Then Chower exclaimed. CAO nodded with a smile, looking at the unconscious Shuafan. Once the kid wakes up, tell him his destiny with the girl has yet to run its course. Ugh. Heaven Sealing CAO frowned. What's wrong? Chower asked. CAO barked, curses. Why are humans focusing all their power here? They're clearly after me. As I am now? Heaven's Ceiling CEO gave his battered body a once-over and rolled his eyes in annoyance. Humph. The enemy comes in waves and I'm in this sorry state. I don't plan on playing anymore. I'm leaving now. Heaven's Ceiling CAO slapped the ice and launched a ripple rumble. Deep sounds echoed out as the ice and the sea was on the move. The black fog withdrew as well, along with his departure. Zhuofan and Shower were on the ice too, thus following him to the North Sea as well. Hey, what's happening? What are you doing? Little Thunder Phoenix, you can't feel it, but a flood of strong cultivators are just ahead. CAO's face twitched. I'm not afraid of a bunch of bugs, not by any means. But I'm wounded and can't handle them. Don't humans like to say, know when to quit and make a tactical retreat? I don't feel like fighting them, so I'm going. Rumble. CAO's claws moved, and the ice he was on sped up. Shower went to Zhuofan's side, and left with him. Bailey Yutian's group outside got their bearings after all the shaking. They looked at the receding black fog and the endless corpses it left behind. The invincible sword, and the others flinched, sighing. The sea demon is still alive after all. Zhuofan did not survive. With that large shaking, even outside its domain, we felt utterly weak. That sea demon must have been behind it. Bailey Yuyun's eyes flickered with fear as he sighed. To think the sea demon is so strong. Despite the deep wounds, he still had so much power in him. It turns out the sea demon had the final say. That Zhuofan is dead. Bailey Yutian felt regret. The rival he approved of was so short-lived it left him empty. Bali Yuyu's heart was in pain, clenching her fists from sorrow. That rascal died just like that? Whoosh. As all were taken in by different emotions at the demise of Zhuofan, they heard something coming from up above. Cultivators in the millions blotted the sky as they charged in to draw blood. Some were wiping their tears and howling in sorrow of not living past today. They all were charging to their deaths, and all knew it. What chance were there really to take down Sword Kings and the invincible sword? Thus, the millions of people were crestfallen, having handed their wills to their lord. Now charging in with the rest, Zhuofan's order to get 2 lands worth of soldiers here to kill invincible sword was now in motion. Bailey Yutian's team was clueless of this. They watched the flood of bloodthirst coming from these people while none thought for a second it was all for them. In fact, they took them as their own reinforcements. Bailey Yuyan laughed. Patriarch, Prime Minister Bailey's army came through for us, and now that they're here, the northern lands are ours. This way we got something for our efforts. Bailey Yutian looked at the approaching mob and then jerked. Hold on. Why don't they look anything like the people from the central area? Why do I feel their bloodthirst is directed at us? Shuddering, the Sword Kings paused and then looked peculiar at the bloodshot gazes of the mob. Yeah. Why would they be coming at us? Chapter 1106, Ganging Up. Chapter 1106, Ganging Up. Proofreader, Papatonks. Invincible sword, screw you. Fight me if you have the guts. Invincible sword, son of rat bastard. I will haunt you from beyond if I die today. Invincible sword, it's either you or me. I've come to take your skull as my personal chamber pot. Knowing they were doomed to die, what could running their mouths do? Kill them again. Weren't you so tough? Oh, invincible sword? The best in the world? None would slight you in the least, but since I'm going to die anyway, I can cuss your entire lineage. The black cloud came down like heavy rain, roaring and shouting curses without stopping. Like true heroes, the obscene and quite colorful language grated the invincible sword and the Sword King's ears, making these lofty figures stare dumbly. Who are these guys? They have guts to come cursing us. Even the 4 lands leaders show us respect. These bugs must have a death wish coming around and running their mouths without rhyme or reason. While not suicidal, but dead men walking all the same. No amount of threats would work on people that knew death was a certainty. Bam. Bailey Yian bowed to Bailey Yutian. Patriarch, allow me to set them straight and make them rue this day. No. Bailey Yutian's gaze was cold, shaking his head. They're cursing me, which means only I have the right to take their lives. Humph. Nothing but a bunch of ignorant fools to dare mock even me. I'll have them face the consequences of their actions. The sundering sword in his hand flickered with lightning, and the heavens took a purple hue as lightning flashed above. He raised his sword at the stampede and made a casual swipe, shouting, "Humph! You think yourselves the likes of Sea Demon or that Zhua? You just don't know your own worth." Rumble. A purple sword wave flared as it traveled straight through the army. The flooded sky of lightning struck down along the path of the wave, unleashing a veritable thunderstorm. What followed were the obvious wails and howls of demise as the army was reduced to ashes, and the wind left behind the attack was a scorched earth. Now black from the ashes, one strike was all it took to cull tens of thousands of lives. The best in the lands might look weak before heaven-sealing CAO, but he was still a god in the mortal domain. Patriarch's might is supreme. The best in the world. Ha ha ha. Bailey Yuyun cupped his hands and gave a round of praise. His flattery might have worked before, when the invincible sword truly thought himself standing at the top. Now it fell flat, if not ironic. Witnessing Zhua Fan and CAO fighting, Bailey Yuyun's suck-up was nothing but a shame to the invincible sword. Is that sarcasm? Pa! Bailey Yuyun found himself flying, slamming hard into the ground 100 meters away from the casual slap, coughing blood and gore. Getting back up on shaky legs, he bore a look of utter confusion to his lord and patriarch. Cough. Bailey Yutian had a coughing fit, spilling burning and frozen blood into his hand and showing it in anger. Is this the supreme might the best in the world has? Were you blind to not see the sea demon's power? How am I the best? Patriarch, the sea demon is a monster, while among humans you. Bull. The best in the world are split between humans and monsters? Then why could Zhua Fan hurt the demon while I couldn't? Invincible sword flicked his hand, boring his glare into the man. I need able bodies, not some disgusting bootlicker. Got that? Yes, Patriarch. They all bowed at once. Bailey Yuyun lowered his head, his complaints never voiced. Cough. Invincible sword coughed again, being severely injured in the ice mountain from CAO's ice and Zhua Fan's dragon breath pill. He was at less than half power. Every attack he made would only worsen his situation. It mattered little, though, since bugs were not worthy of his full power. How much harm could flexing his power cause anyway? He was about to find out how wrong he was. That group was a mere appetizer for what was to come. While he could cull a wave, how long could he keep up? Whoosh. The skies once again littered with a cacophony of vulgar calls. Invincible sword. Fight us, coward. We're waiting for you. So come on. Invincible sword. You have some cheek to be so arrogant, calling yourself above everyone. Invincible sword. You're not invincible, just delusional. Feel like living? Then get on your knees and walk between my legs. Ha ha ha. Invincible sword's face twitched, his stooping figure shaking from rage. He turned stiffly at the sudden catcalls to find another bunch of bugs looking for a quick death. The insults became harder and harder to bear. Another bunch of maggots came to die. Cough. Invincible sword tightened his jaw, and the sundering sword hummed with desire to strike. He caved before he ever got to swing it and spurted blood. The Sword Kings rushed to help. Patriarch. Bailey Yuyun volunteered on the spot. Patriarch, these ants don't deserve Sir's attention. Leave them to me. I will handle them. Beat it. They came for me. Not facing them will only give credence to their insults. He shoved Bailey Yuyun away and swung sundering sword with bloodshot eyes, sending another sword wave with resounding booms that resulted in thousands upon thousands more deaths, while his body coughed blood again, damaged further from his stubborn stance. The others were watching in worry and supported him. Patriarch. Next team, attack? Outside the Seabright sect, Lung Wuchang noticed the purple lightning flaring in the distance and ordered the tens of thousands of men. Bear in mind that you may never return, but you have to taunt that old monster as much as you can. He is a man of excessive pride that disdains your very existence. Taunt him, and he will strike with all he has. It is a path of no return, I know, but you are fighting for the chance of the next teams to live. The more that monster wastes energy on you, the higher the next team's odds at taking him down. Within you lies the power to have your fellow brothers survive this. Know your sacrifice is not in vain. The men howled in high spirits as they marched to their doom. One elder sighed from the side. Exalted double dragons have said many times the Luo clan is filled with talents. Sir Lung is wise to have the clans and sects of two lands arranged, so their friends and family lay in the back for the greatest chance at surviving. It'll be hard not to do their best. Ha ha ha. Merely a trick is all. Lung Wuchang smiled. As we're using the human waves tactic against the invincible sword, cooperation and formation among strangers hold little value. This arrangement is the most effective. Sir Lung is most right. Then I shall go call for the next team. Take care, Executive Lu. Lung Wuchang gave a slight bow, then his kind smile fell the moment that back left his eyes. He smirked. Humph. They have not an ounce of remorse in using others' lives to strengthen their position. These four lands leaders truly are. Sir Long disdains such base people. A cheerful voice reached him. Long Wuchang shook and turned to see a familiar figure, bowing. If it isn't Miss Schwanger, with your deep grief for loss of life, why are you on this cruel and bitter battlefield? Not all wars are cruel. Schwanger sighed. I have to thank Sir Long for this strategy, to lessen the disasters. Brother Zhua ordered for two lands to surround the invincible sword, but did not go into details. Sir Long's effective organization has raised the tactics' chances of success. Telling every team to go slander the invincible sword will cause a man of his temperament to fly into a rage. He will tire more like this and spare us from further casualties before his death. Lung Wuchang nodded, but his smile was bitter. Clan head sent me to organize the attack with this idea in mind, but it may be against Steward Zhua's intention. Why do you say that? Do you believe for certain Steward Zhua had no concrete way of dealing with the invincible sword? Lung Wuchang's eyes shone with conviction. Steward Zhua's plan is to see both sides crippled. Chapter 1107. Go, go, go. Chapter 1107. Go, go, go. Proofreader. Papatonks. Shuddering. Schwanger gave him an incredulous look. That can't be. Brother Zhua is the Grand Marshal of our lands. Why would he? Speaking of his position, isn't it merely interim? Calling it exploit isn't much of a stretch, regardless of how bad it sounds. Lung Wuchang's eyes shone. When the dust settles, fingers will be pointing. The lands are now at war, and the leaders of the four lands have no choice but to show courtesy when inviting Steward Zhua to take charge. Once fighting stops, the Grand Marshal loses its meaning. The four lands would remain, but what about Steward Zhua? He is a far too shrewd a man to not pick up on the obvious danger coming with his new status. Furthermore, Steward Zhua's plan destroys the main headache, collapsing the central area, while also making the four lands break under the severe casualties. When two fight, a third always wins. Steward Zhua took the reins, but who is he working for in the end? This is the main issue. Lung Wuchang smoothed his goatee, showing a crafty smile as he sighed. I wonder, will Steward Zhua take it out on me for reducing his plan of grinding the two sides' assets? I guess I'll just dump it all on Clan Head, who just had to be so righteous and sorry for humanity. Wouldn't you say? Ha ha ha. Watching him go, Schwanger frowned deep in thought. This means the man hasn't changed at all after all these years. It's like he hasn't once thought about humanity's well-being. Boom. The invincible sword faced the endless waves of soldiers with wave after wave, sending them all to hell. These men were suicidal lunatics, coming one after the other, again and again. Invincible swords slash weakened, but not enough for the attack to be blocked. The four Sword Kings looked lost. Anyone knew that making an example out of a few of them ought to scare these cowardly rabble away, but they had all gone insane, coming with the sole purpose of dying. They were lining up for execution. What is wrong with the people of northern lands? Have they lost their marbles? Their marbles were very much accounted for. It was Zhua Fan's attrition tactic that convinced them all that the only way to win the war was over a mountain of corpses. They were simply climbing on the stairs to victory sometimes. It wasn't death that scared people, but dying without meaning or purpose. The Sword Kings were just too strong, making all of their efforts feel empty when they couldn't even hurt their enemies. Here was where Zhua Fan came with a solution. Through the power of 100 million people, they would wear them out by changing perspective. The crowd's morale shifted. Their deaths now had worth, leading to the ultimate death of the invincible sword and the Sword Kings. Adding to it Long Wuchang's tactic of splitting kin and friends, their value only soared in their hearts. The more you drain these monsters, the safer your kin will be. And who's to say they won't earn glory? With victory in their hearts and souls, they all stepped forth to their doom without any fear. Boom. With another wave down, the invincible sword paled from exhaustion, gasping hard and coughing blood twice more. His wounds only deepened. Patriarch, please rest and leave it all to me. Bali Yu chose the perfect moment to block him. Weak as he became, he no longer insisted and fell back, going to rest with the other 3 sword kings. As for the next wave of soon-to-be dead people, Bali Yu would handle them. The soldiers still cursed and taunted, but the old man had no more energy for them. No longer stubborn and turned a deaf ear to heal. Long Wuchang saw Bailey Yutian withdrawing and a sword king taking stage. He decided to make slight adjustment to the tactic by sending 5 teams at once instead of just one to drain them harder. And every last one of the attacks came pouring down right for the invincible sword. It was no wonder Bali Yu was frantic in keeping Patriarch safe, while also exhausting herself. The other sword kings had to replace her. Though weren't they wounded themselves? 10 waves were nothing, but having pushed on to 100 and the earlier damage began to show their effects, making their situation that much harder. Luckily, Bailey Yule rushed here with the Crown Prince at the best moment to hold the fort. Which was not to say that a heavily damaged 1, 2 normal and 3 wounded sword kings could outlast the constant attacks from the 100 million soldiers 2 lands were throwing at them. No, they certainly had it bad. While the suicidal madmen couldn't touch them, their Yuan Qi took a heavy blow. Only 3 days into the fight, they found themselves dazed and their Yuan Qi reserve next to bone dry. As for the enemy, they still had 2/3 of their force intact in the dark. At the actual numbers, the Sword Kings were in a dangerous spot, only amplified with every passing wave. Their strength wasn't the only one leaving, with their minds taking their toll as well. Bailey Jingwei, didn't you say you're going to break into northern lands with ease, you bastard? Weren't you going to support us? This feels like the whole of northern lands' forces are now focused on us. Where the hell are you? Bali Yu couldn't take it anymore and lashed out. The other Sword Kings were aggravated as well. With bloodshot eyes and growling, they believed in Bailey Jingwei's plan, but for some reason, everything took a turn for the worse. What kind of problems could his plan to attack all lands meet? Despite their frustration and confusion, they were very much in the dark about Bailey Jingwei having it far worse than them. Go, go, go. Charge, for crying out loud. Breach northern lands at all costs. At the northern lands border, Bailey Jingwei was frantic and anxious as he pointed at the smoking battlefield and howled like he was possessed. His white teeth crunched so hard they might break any second. Chuafan, you rotten piece of, I'm not through with you. I'm going to get you for using this despicable tactic on me. Just how are Patriarch and the others holding up? It's been 6 days under harassment from 100 million people. Then there's the 3 divine swords. Patriarch has to be safe. Bailey Jingwei's eyes were red all over, howling, charge, no matter what. Get in there, you goddamned rejects. Answering him was a draconic roar. Danqing Shin pointed at the sky and hacked down. A resounding boom followed, making the sky echo with the wails and cries of hundreds of Genesis experts as they lost their lives. The enemy lines were shaking to the core as well, under the onslaught. Ding. A most sublime zither added some color to the battlefield, but this turned out to be a dirge. The sounds split into 7 sword energy attacks, mowing people down and unleashing a shower of limbs, viscera and blood upon all around. The music turned soothing once more, with the man in white gently touching the strings with a peaceful smile. It's the Zither Sword King. Look out for his 7 notes obscure sword. A venerable from northern lands recognized him and shouted. Moments before he popped like an overripe tomato, Shangguan Feiyun hovered high above, lowering his fingers. You think Zither Sword King is the only one to watch out for? There are 4 Sword Kings on this battlefield. Are you calling the others weaklings? Yeah, Zither Sword King always shows off, playing a zither on the field of battle. Wine Sword Immortal whined, approaching Shangguan Feiyun. Should we try being refined for a change? At this rate, all credit will go to that string plucker. Next thing you know, Prime Minister Bailey is shouting at us for not trying too hard. I'd rather not have him grating on my ears with his yapping. Ha! Wine Sword Immortal laughed, and spurted wine then pointed. The wine turned into a golden inferno that took sword shape and fell down like rain to kill 1,000 experts. Shangguan Feiyun's heart sank. Wine Sword Immortal. Is this the decimating sword art from southern lands? Fire really is the most effective way of killing. Let's not dwell in the past. Wine Sword Immortal shook his head with a sigh. I've had a drink over with Murong Lai back then, considering him a friend. He was also kind enough to let me observe decimating sword for a year, leading to today's results. But times have changed, I'm afraid, and I don't know if he'll gift me more wine. Humph. Once you take southern lands, all the wine will be yours. What taste can stolen wine have over one offered by a dear friend? Wine Sword Immortal looked worried, sadness flashing deep in his gaze, seeing how two sword kings were chatting merrily. Bailey Jingwei had to do something about that. His anger burned to new heights as he shrieked, Shangguan Feiyun, Wine Sword Immortal, did I call you here for a drink? Charge, goddammit. The brat is picking our faults again. Wine Sword Immortal shrugged and sighed as he shot for the northern land's frontline. Shangguan Feiyun was right behind him, huffing and puffing. Bailey Jingwei shook all over. Damn these foreign sword kings, they can't do anything right. What do I do? It's been so many days, and Patriarch. Prime Minister, sir, report. A messenger bowed before him. Bailey Jingwei snatched the jade slip and read it with heart in his throat. What's so important in these crucial moments? He jolted, and in the next moment his eyes shone. The punk is missing and not leading the alliance? Perfect. Chapter 1108. Promoting. Chapter 1108. Promoting. Proofreader. Papatonks. Boom. Sun Sea sect leader Bu Xingyun appeared among some broken ruins. He watched the lightning flaring in the distance and noticed it had ebbed since yesterday, its weariness becoming more pronounced as time passed. His eyes shook, and he took a deep breath, turning from the incredible display to looking around. Crack. The splitting of a rock entered his ear, and Bu Xingyun's eye lit up. His attention snapped to the source, reaching it in moments. He sent a palm attack, blowing away the rubble and revealing the frail sect leader of Sea Bright Sect, Ling Yuntian, with his ruined clothes, messy hair, pale face, and blood on his mouth. He didn't look as dignified. Sect leader Ling. How are you? Here, take this healing pill. I'll take you somewhere safe to recover. Bu Xingyun helped him, and a blue pill entered his mouth. Bu Xingyun then placed him on his back, moving swiftly through the air. Now they're all accounted for. Ha ha ha. Whoosh. Bu Xingyun arrived minutes later, 10 miles outside Sea Bright Sect, at a tent. The patrols were all Sea Bright Sect disciples that had survived. They moved with purpose at their arrival and helped him take Ling Yuntian into the tent. There were many others inside, lying down and wounded. Exalted double dragons, and the 3 Shangguan clan venerables among them. At the time the invincible sword's powerful sword struck, they all survived by the grace of the 3 divine swords. Although they were now hanging by a thread seeing the new addition, they all cheered. Sect leader Ling Yuntian was placed on a stretcher like the rest, and as he heard the frail voices, he cracked an eyelid to wheeze out, Where am I? What happened? Ha ha ha, Sect leader Ling, did the monster's blow hit you in the head? We've all been defeated and damn nearly killed. It's thanks to Sect leader Bu that we're still alive, coming to our rescue before breathing our last among rubble. Exalted He Ran explained with gratitude for Bu Xingyun. Sect leader Bu is our savior. We can't thank him enough. Bu Xingyun gave a modest wave, even blaming himself. You're too kind, sirs. I am ashamed to not have been there alongside you to fight. This little help is nothing. If you had come with us, you'd have been buried under the ruins like us. Then no one could have helped some old men. Sect leader Bu, you were right not to join the battle. I ask your forgiveness for the many disagreements we had before. It's fine, Exalted He Ran. We're all in this together. They were mere trifles. Ha ha ha. Bu Xingyun gave a bright laugh. Ling Yuntian knew by now that all the men here got saved by Bu Xingyun. He forced himself to prop his body and thank Bu Xingyun. Whoosh. The tent opened just then, and a man in a black robe entered, laughing. I am very pleased to know that all of you are still in this world. Sect leader Ling, exalted double dragons, as well as the representatives of the eastern lands and southern lands, I wonder if your precarious condition had made you more tolerant for my advice? Who are you? State your name. Ling Yuntian shouted. The man in black removed his cowl, revealing a savage smile. I guess some of you here have yet to meet me. Then allow me to introduce myself. I am Central Area Sword Star Empire's Prime Minister, Bailey Jingwei. You're Bailey Jingwei? Everyone gasped and stared with big eyes. What are you doing so deep in the northern lands? How did you pass Sea Bright Sect's defenses? Guards, seize him. Someone raised his hand to grab Bailey Yutian, shouting, Ha ha ha, instead of enjoying yourself from your position, you dared venture here. Now we're not only taking your empire's cornerstone, Bailey Yutian, but even the wisest Bailey Jingwei. The destruction of the Sword Star Empire is nigh. A group of Sea Bright Sect disciple entered to cut off the intruder's escape. Wait. Bailey Jingwei shouted before Bu Xingyun got to grab him. Bu Xingyun smirked. Prime Minister Bailey, what trick are you playing now? Humph, you may be clever, renowned throughout the lands, but you are a frail scholar. Why so nervous then? With a sneaky smile, Bailey Jingwei shrugged and spoke to the wounded elders, sect leader Ling. I have come alone and weak before you just so we can talk. You're free to take me prisoner once I'm done, taking down the head. Or are you perhaps afraid of a little old scholar standing in your domain among the greatest experts in the lands? You wouldn't even give me the chance to speak? Bu Xingyun paused and turned to Ling Yuntian for directions. Ling Yuntian coughed for a bit and gave a weak wave. Sending the disciples away, Bu Xingyun snapped his head back on Bailey Jingwei, cursing, Your tricks won't work here, humph. Bailey Jingwei nodded with calmness. Prime Minister Bailey, with both sides trapped in a bitter war, what purpose does your visit hold? Ling Yuntian demanded. The others focused on Bailey Jingwei and awaited his reply. What's this sneaky prime minister playing at? Coming in here without so much as a sword king for escort? Does he have a death wish? Bailey Jingwei shook his head, his voce firm. To be honest, I've come to save everyone. Save us? They all looked stumped. Then exalted He Ran mocked him. Prime Minister Bailey, are you all right? We hold all the cards and morale has never been higher. A disciple came in just now saying your patriarch is barely holding on while we still have millions of soldiers ready to fight still and finish him. And you have the nerve to come into our domain and proclaim you're here to save us? What a sick joke. They say Prime Minister Bailey is beyond wise. But to think you came to preach such idiotic nonsense. The rumors must be inflated. Ha ha ha. They all laughed at his expense. Bailey Jingwei shook his head, not falling for his jab, waiting for them to laugh before continuing. You're all right and you have victory in your grasp. I am aware and accept my loss. Everyone is very close to ruining my empire with your ingenious plan. But while that is a bitter reality, so too will your demise following our nation's defeat. Ugh. The smiles froze on their faces and looked grave. Ling Yuntian glared. Bailey Jingwei, what's that supposed to mean? Ha ha ha. Haven't you considered what might come next after you employ such a plan? Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone with wisdom. I admit you win this round, but you'll be losing as well. You will crush the undefeated Sword Star Empire, but at a cost of your own demise. Be it Sea Bright Sect or Double Dragon Manor, Shangguan Clan and Moron Clan, they all will fall in time, experiencing the same defeat as my nation, erased from this world. What a load of bull. Your Sword Star Empire is the one to fall here. It has nothing to do with us. Why would we be joining you in death? Nothing? Then do you all know how gaining victory against a mighty foe ruins my nation? Absolutely. Ling Yuntian smirked. As long as we take the invincible sword down, your empire loses their foundation. Then I still have at my disposal millions of soldiers and 4 sword kings. While you are drained and weary from the fight with Patriarch, I can still destroy the 4 lands. Really? Those kings you're so proud of will turn on you in the end. Ling Yuntian disdained. Without the invincible sword to coerce them, the sword kings won't ever listen to you. They all let out smug smiles. Filled with confidence, Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone with mockery as he smiled. What makes you so sure the first thing they'll do when learning of Patriarch's passing, they'll be turning on me? Air. The wounded elders all froze, unable to reply. Chapter 1109. No Victor. Chapter 1109. No Victor. Proofreader. Papatonks. Frowning, the bedridden old men looked at each other before staring back into Bailey Jingwei's deep eyes. What do you mean? Ha ha ha, nothing. Just given the impression we're all part of someone's master plan. When two fight, the third wins. None of us are victors. With anger in his eyes, Bailey Jingwei sighed. The wounded looked on with nothing but doubt in their eyes. Bailey Jingwei shook his head and let out a long and heavy breath. Then he composed himself as he spoke. I bet that wise ass of yours only told you what you wanted to hear of how this will end. Then allow me to share with you the rest. First of all, this plan is devious beyond measure. It takes a lot of metal to send everything at Patriarch. I never dreamed you'd have it in you. Technically, it's not bravery, just up against the wall, ending up used. I have to give him credit. This move hit me where it hurt the most. I aimed for instant gains when attacking the forelands. I went for bolstering our Sword King's numbers, increasing the Empire's power, but they are volatile. Once Patriarch is gone to stop them, the four will lash out. They're the biggest threat to topple the Empire. Didn't Sergua say the same thing? The patients grinned to themselves. That's Sergua's plan, all right? The only reason the wisest in the world even bothered risking his life to come here for a ceasefire is because Sergua cut him deep. But that's only half of it. Bailey Jingwei could read them like a book, continuing, next comes death, though unsure if it'll be yours or mine. Did you think that with Patriarch's death, the four Sword Kings will turn on us? What a joke. They all come to my central area for fame and fortune. Do you really think they'll just give it all up? The men gasped. Why, you mean? Humph, I can't say what they'll do for certain, but if it were me seeing both sides at death's door, I'd definitely revolt. I'd gather a personal army and use retribution for Patriarch as an excuse to keep fighting, dyeing the four lands in blood. And only when the four lands have nothing left to fight with will they turn against the central area. Giving a devilish smile, Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone with guile, enticing them with his words. That's why I say the fall of my nation marks the destruction of the four lands. The five lands would then belong to the four Sword Kings. That's not a pretty picture, is it? The leaders of the four lands in question were sweating buckets. Bailey Jingwei smirked, keeping his voice even yet still piercing, toiling so hard, losing so many men to claim to kill the invincible Patriarch, yet all for another's sake. Seabright sect will be finished, Double Dragon Manor as well, Shangguan clan ha ha ha. With Shangguan Feiyun's hatred for his clan, even if it still exists, what good will come of it? At the very end, the world would belong to the four. Oh, and let's not forget Sergua. It must come as a surprise to know that the central area is facing a rebellion. A hidden power is on a swift rise. I believe that once the major powers of the five lands are out of the picture, a new world order will come. Since Sergua has the greatest credit in conducting this play, it's only fair to get a slice of the pie, wouldn't you say? Ha ha ha. Their wounded faces twitched, looking nervous. If all went like Bailey Jingwei said, what were they fighting and dying for? Was it all a scheme from Sergua against the central area and the four lands as well? They all grew grave and felt fear as Zhua Fan's wide smile entered their minds. He's terrifying. They had no way of seeing through this devious plot, and they were perfectly fine doing the work for him. If it really was the case of ending their clans and sects, how would they face their ancestors in the beyond? They all hung their heads, distressed. Damn Zhua Fan. I just knew that sneaky punk was up to no good. He almost used us. Do you all still remember how he wanted to cause chaos in the central area? It turns out it's all to vie for power. Bu Xingyun roared, cursing, Sect leader Ling, what do we do now? Ling Yuntian's brow shook with endless worry. He also happened to turn his eyes on Bailey Jingwei as he thought, Prime Minister Bailey, you're not here just to flex your smarts over us, are you? Get to the point. Just what he wanted to hear. Bailey Jingwei showed a genial smile. Sect leader Ling, I've come to settle this matter. Since both of us are doing the work for that shameless punk, I hope that Sect leader Ling and every leader shall cease and desist their assault on Patriarch. Stop. You want us to leave a monster like Invincible Sword alone? Ling Yuntian hesitated, and for good reason, his fists clenching in rejection. We finally have him on the ropes for the first time. When will we ever get such a chance again? Ha ha ha. I'd find such a chance equally hard to give up if I were in your shoes, sect leader Ling. But everyone should know that Zhuo Fan's scheme rests solely on Patriarch's fate. To unravel it, you must let go of Patriarch. Sirs are all men of your word. Are you willing to lay waste to your foundation for the sake of another? I have to say, I'm touched. The patients jolted, gnashing their teeth and nodding, having gotten his point across. Ling Yuntian turned to Bailey Jingwei and spoke heavily. Fine, we agree. But after Invincible Sword leaves, rest assured that our empire is in chaos and suffered heavy losses. We have no time to waste. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone and nodded. Once Patriarch is with us, the war will cease, with neither side a winner. I vow on my Dao heart, on behalf of the Sword Star Empire, that we'll not step one foot on the Four Lands for the next century. The elders found it much easier now to agree they would now have 100 years of peace. Ling Yuntian nodded as well, then called, Guard, tell. Boom. As silver waves passed, tens of thousands of experts met their end. Bailey Yu and Bailey Yulei shook under the exertion, looking wan and frail. They slumped on the ground. With no more strength to give, we can't hold on anymore either. Gasping for breath, Bailey Yu looked at the others, equally spent, and shook her head. The others felt the bitterness of despair these days. Patriarch and the Sword Kings took turns in fending off the enemy, but this led to aggravating wounds and spent Yuan Qi whoosh. Here came another wave. Men coming to die for their cause, shouting and cursing. What's this? Why are they all on the ground? Does this mean? Their dead eyes, resigned to their fate, glimmered with hope and jubilation. Be brothers, they're spent. Attack and take their heads. They're exhausted? Does that mean we don't get to die? Not just live, but take Invincible Sword and 5 Sword Kings' lives. We'll live forever in history. Roar. The howls rang through the sky and the suicidal team got pumped, charging the enemy with fervent joy. A world of fame and wealth was waiting for them, stepping on the bodies of the brothers before them and now plucking it like nothing. Grinning to their ears, the men went crazy as they lunged like ravenous wolves at the chance to go down in history. Their true and vile natures were laid bare to the world. Bailey Yutian's lips shook, looking furious as he held the divine sword in defiance. I, the great Invincible Sword, am not about to meet my end in a glorious battle against an expert, but at the nibbling of cockroaches. What a disgrace. The Sword Kings were just as unwilling dying for Morong Lai or Ouyang Lingtian, and even that freak, Zhuo Fan, would have been so much better. Now they were shamed having their honor smeared with these bugs. Hold. Sect leader Ling sent orders for everyone to stop attacking Invincible Sword. Any violation means death. A shout echoed into the crazed maniac's ears, making them freeze in stupefaction. Chapter 1110. Widespread Grievance. Chapter 1110. Widespread Grievance. Proofreader. Papatonks. What the hell? Rooted to the spot, the men had glazed looks of confusion at the unbelievable things they were hearing. They were so close to breaking this impossibly tough bone, and they just want them to stop. Even Invincible Swords Group was left speechless. What in heaven's name is going on? What are the Four Lands planning this time? Whoosh. A man in white landed, the venerable in charge of the wave, and walked towards Invincible Sword with a bow. Sir Bailey and Sword Kings, please follow me. Your people are here to take you. Our people? Flinching, the 6 looked at each other baffled. But since they were like lambs to the slaughter, what more could they do to them? They ignored the strangeness of the invitation and the possible trap, with Bailey Yutian coughing blood a couple more times and some Sword Kings lending their arm. They all stumbled forward. Why? Just why let them go? A howl of indignation and fury broke the sky, and a figure in gray shot for Bailey Yutian with a savage punch. My brothers died at their hands. We suffered so many losses, got them ready to reap. So why the hell won't you let us take their lives? I'll have my revenge for my brothers. Die, Invincible Sword. Bang! He hardly made any progress towards Invincible Sword as an energy wave flashed past and left him in bloody pieces. The elder in white flicked his Yuan Qi charged fingers, smirking in disdain at the rest. Have I not made myself clear? The leaders of the Four Lands have decreed to let Invincible Sword leave. Any violation means execution. The men shuddered and lowered their heads in anger and hatred. They knew not what got those higher up to lose their heads and come here right when they were about to succeed, only to stop them. Had the tens of millions before died for nothing? Ignoring these bugs who were unable to control their fate, Bailey Yutian walked away with the old man. They soon reached a thicket. Ling Yutian's group was waiting, along with a friendly face. Bailey Jingwei, what's going on here? Can you explain it to me? Bailey Yutian was gravely wounded, but still had the demeanor of a king. Bailey Jingwei cupped his hands as he bowed. Patriarch, we made peace. Oh, I see. Bailey Yutian sighed, looking at the hovering image behind him. Is that a teleportation array? It's quite subtle and compact. I wager it can only take a couple people at once. Is it your handiwork? Yes, Patriarch, to be on the safe side. I built it after coming to Northern Lands. Good, let's go. Bailey Yutian walked straight for the portal, uncaring about the situation. The others followed. Ling Yutian smiled and stepped forward. Sir, both sides have suffered in this war and are heavily wounded. I hope there won't be any conflicts in the future. Bailey Yutian never once spared him a glance. Going through the portal at his own pace, Ling Yutian's face twitched. Put on the spot, Humph. You're not even fit to talk to Patriarch. Not when you cower away from the fight, geezer. Bali Yu huffed and followed through. The Sword Kings echoed her disdain. Going through the portal, including Crown Prince Bailey Jingtian. Bailey Jingwei smiled, bowing with respect at Ling Yutian. Yet his smile felt flat. Sect leader Ling, this is just how Patriarch and Sword Kings are. I offer my apology on their behalf. It's fine. I just hope, Prime Minister. Of course, for the next century, we'll be at peace. Ha ha ha. Farewell. Bailey Jingwei smirked as he passed through. As well, his mask of kindness fell right as he vanished, revealing the naked scorn beneath him. With all gone, Ling Yutian's group remained. He was looking tense and heavy, feeling his pain. Bu Xingyun laughed, sucking up. Invincible Sword's arrogance is common knowledge. It must be hard for sect leader Ling to suffer such humiliation, yet save the Four Lands Foundation. Search everything. Ling Yutian roared. Why could Bailey Jingwei teleport to the heart of Northern Lands from the front lines? And what is this secret teleportation array doing here? Why could he enter our Sea Bright sect like there was no one to stop him? Zhuofan was right. Northern Lands has a traitor, and of great status as well. This is the only possible answer for a central area to have such a hidden door. Bu Xingyu nodded. Yes, we must investigate. Sect leader Ling, leave this to me. I will definitely get to the bottom of this. Ling Yutian nodded and sighed. Just who is this traitor? In Bailey Yutian's camp, Bailey Yutian and his group appeared through the portal, with Bailey Jingwei in the rear. Invincible Sword and the 5 Sword Kings felt ages since they saw the familiar faces and mood. They were finally back in their own domain, to safety. Sword Kings were anxious to go to the security of their hope, especially after suffering through millions of men coming at them relentlessly. Prime Minister Jingwei, thank you. Crown Prince Bailey Jingtian spoke earnestly. We're alive all thanks to your timely intervention. But how did Prime Minister convince them to accept a ceasefire so willingly? It's simple, because they had us by the short hairs. Bailey Jingwei shook his head and revealed a jade slip. The imperial capital reports that the Sword Star Empire now has over 1,000 cities that have fallen. Once news of Patriarch's wounds spread, the 4 Sword Star Empire won't sit still. We are beset by conflict from every side and have lost the strength to fight this war. Of course, we'd be happy to go home in peace. How did it come to this? For even the Empire's core, everyone cried out. Bailey Jingwei nodded. Yes, Zhuofan has made us suffer the worst. We'll likely need decades to settle. That guy again? How did he manage to get our empire? Bailey Jingtian and the Sword Kings gasped. Bailey Jingwei had a bitter smile. It is all my fault, Patriarch. The guy had beaten me completely in strategy. It might come as a shock to know that he was appointed as the commander of the Four Lands, the Grand Marshal. Bailey Jingwei began telling everything that had happened. The audience was just too out of it to react. They knew Zhuofan to be some mystery sect's disciple, but to think he also held control over the boar With the 5 lands dancing to his tune, he bested Patriarch and outclassed Prime Minister. Just who was this godlike talent? In short, I only managed to get those geezers to relent because that punk is missing. I fear that not even my presence would have swayed them otherwise, and I'd have only suffered by going there. That guy is the greatest opponent in my entire life. Fear lingering in his eyes, Bailey Yuyun was grave. The other side, with Bailey Yuyun saying, "Prime Minister, you can relax now. He's no longer a threat to you." Bailey Jingwei began. His corpse got eaten by the sea demon. Who cares how great he was in life? Ha ha ha. Bailey Yuyun narrated their side of the events this time. Bailey Jingwei listened with a dumb look. His eyes then landed on Bailey Jingtian's missing hand and cried, "Curses, is this guy our bane?" All of Bailey, from young to old, from refined to martial, got smacked around. But in the end, he got done over by some mystery sea demon? How are we then to exact revenge? The one opponent we acknowledge is gone like that. Who are we to fight now? Go take it out on Ling Yuntian and those fools? Are they worth the bother? Bailey Yutian frowned hard, his features twisted in anger. His eyes bloodshot, blood spurted high and his eyes went black, knocked out. Yet he still had the mind to mutter, "Shuafan, your life is mine,